Okay.
You're a lifesaver.
Thumbs up. Alrighty. I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. We have a full room. We also have a full board. We're waiting for Steve Feeney to zoom in, but we currently have 6 members here. We have 5 full-time members and 2 associates on a typical night. Steve is a full-time member, and we will use an alternate for our associates until Steve is able to zoom in. So tonight is Tuesday, September 28th. It's currently 6:32. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals, and this is also agenda for a hybrid participation meeting, but I want to make sure that everybody is aware that while it's an option for remote attendance and or participation, this is being provided as a courtesy to the public. The meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. So tonight's Zoom meeting is meeting ID 878-2517-3113. Passcode is 087456. I'd also like to reiterate when you're zooming in and you are calling, you need to press *6. You need to press *6 again to unmute yourself. So that's part of that deal. This evening we have 5 new hearings. We also have 2 continued hearings to October 12th. I am going to make the board aware of case 1981, which is DJ Sullivan Collision Center, and that is at 612 Plain Street. And I understand the planning board has successfully completed that project, and I am anticipating at the next hearing that will be no longer on our plate, but we will see what happens the next couple of weeks.
The village extends.
Is that it? Any other business I need to attend to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, just that 2172 has requested to withdraw without prejudice. They've refiled for October 12th.
72.
It's the 3rd one down.
See.
Okay. So let's make a, just get to that and make a motion to allow that to occur. So I'd like to make sure that we don't have Steve, because otherwise I have to do a roll call vote. And we do not have a roll call vote at this time necessary. But just so the audience is aware, Mark Stiles, Larry Keane, Chris Belisos, Lynn Fiddler, Heidi Conway, and Brian Murphy are here in front of you this evening. So for the first hearing tonight, we are going to remain on the designated agenda and stick to our agenda, going from 2170 to 2171, 72, 2159A, and then I believe Webster Point Village. We will just leave that on the agenda, or?
My recommendation is that you open the meeting and continue it, because the applicant has filed a motion with the Housing Appeals Committee to amend his pending appeal. So I'm going to recommend that you read the public hearing notice, open the meeting, and then continue it for 30 days.
Okay, so we will go out of order, and I will do that in the beginning. Alrighty?
Yep.
Alrighty, so this meeting is now brought to order. So let's begin with E, which is Webster Point Village. And this is on the agenda, and I'm going to read this into the record, unless we have somebody here to represent this applicant. As there is none, I will...
want to check online.
Anybody online here this evening for case Webster Point Village? Again, you need to press *6 if you'd like to be heard, if you're dialing in. Alrighty.
See anybody, Andrew, on there?
There's no one on there, correct?
No,
Okay.
right up there.
I saw John Witten was logging in, so.
should I hold off and do this
No.
later?
Yeah, why don't we just roll down and we'll get to it when we get there?
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Bob, if,
Oh,
Oh, there he is.
oh, John? John, can you hear
sure,
me?
hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have nothing to offer this evening if the board is going to continue it, but thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, John. You seem to be the only person in attendance within Zoom in this room here at the Selectman's office. So I'm going to go ahead and read this into the record and get this off the board's plate for the evening. So I'm not leaving it to the end, okay? All right, Webster Point Village LLC, request to approve changes to the comprehensive permit issued to Webster Point Village LLC by the Zoning Board of Appeals dated August 26, 2021, which the Zoning Board of Appeals has determined to be substantial changes after a September 8, 2021 Zoning Board meeting to consider the proposed changes. The property contains 26.33 acres, more or less, located off of Carswell Street in Marshfield, Massachusetts. This is located in the R1 zoning district and is further identified as parcel J02-05-01A, and it's on the Marshfield's assessor's maps. I'd like to make a motion to continue this.
Open the public hearing and
Open
then,
open this public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of seconding, of opening it?
Aye.
Mark Stiles.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Mills, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
So we will use Chris's vote, okay, on this, and then we'll alternate. All right, Nancy?
Yes, Steve is on Zoom on his phone
Okay,
for now.
That's him down in the corner, but let's just go.
yeah, okay.
So this is, for the record, this is the Webster Point Village 40B project that was in front of you on the 8th. The board made a determination that the proposed changes were substantial, which required the board to convene its public hearing within 30 days. The board has done that. Last week, the applicant filed a motion to amend the pending appeal to include an appeal over the board's decision on substantiality. It is our contention that he didn't file it correctly. But I think out of an abundance of caution, you should open your hearing and continue it. The public hearing process will have to complete pursuant to an order of the Housing Appeals Committee within 60 days. So if you continue this for 30 days, that's more than enough time to get some indication from the Housing Appeals Committee as to the disposition of the motion.
Okay, so 30 days from this date gives us to what hearing? Date certain?
It doesn't have to be
26.
exactly 30, it could be,
October 26th is, we have the 12th.
October
fine.
26th, give or take. Does
Yep.
that work for you?
yep. So your motion would be to continue the public hearing until that date.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to continue Webster Point Village LLC to a date certain of October 26th at 6:30 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Brian Murphy. All those in favor?
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Mills, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Okay. Are you all set, Nancy?
I am.
Bob? We're good. Okay.
You're good.
All right, so let's head into our new hearings. Do we have the applicant here for case 2170, 165 Prospect Street, which is also referenced as, correctly as 173 Prospect Street? Would you like to come up to the front? All right, I'm going to read this into the record, and then we will get started. Before we get started, Steve Feeney, can you hear my voice?
Steve, you'll need to hit *6 to unmute.
He's driving, so.
He's driving, so then I just,
Okay, then we're just gonna
Let's
let
just-
him listen in and we will work through this, okay? Rather than call him in on a roll call. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So Steve, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna continue with case 2170 and have the vote done by Larry Keane. Does that work for you?
That's fine with me.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I'll be
you.
there about 10 minutes. That's
All
good.
right.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so we're at 2170, welcome.
Thank you.
This is listed as 165 Prospect Street LLC. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-9.05A of the Marshfield Municipal Code to change one commercial use to another commercial use on the property located at 173 Prospect Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel E1704-10 and is located in an R1 zoning district. So if you would identify yourselves for the record, we'll get started.
Tish Vivato.
Steve Carell.
Hi. So we have some attachments here this evening. We'll wait for them to get up on the board. And you can describe to us what you have planned. Either one of you.
I own the general store. I guess I've owned it for 10, 12 years now. 12 years. And last year, we purchased the property next door, which had been a dentist's office owned by Dr. Spitz. And we were hoping to use it as an annex to the general store to sell ice cream from a window seasonally. And that's essentially it.
Yeah.
Okay. So any changes to the exterior of the building?
That I would have to, not drastic,
Okay.
but we'd probably want to just open up a window, so it's not a
Right.
go-in kind of place. It's not a sit-down. It's just
Okay.
a.
It's just a walk-up window.
Just a
Okay,
walk-up window.
nice,
So
okay.
that's all we'd have to do.
Alrighty. So this was in front of us as 9, so perhaps you should
Sure.
interject here. Okay.
So I met with the applicant prior to this hearing. Because it's a change of a pre-existing non-conforming use, it's currently, the non-conforming use is a professional office of a dentist, and obviously they want to change it to another non-conforming use of retail sales. And because it's substantially different, we wanted to get the approval through the ZBA for the alteration of a non-conforming use, in this effect, changing it. And we just wanted to make sure that we went through the ZBA process here, and they wanted to make sure that everybody was happy with what they were going to do. They're going to be essentially expanding parking for the existing general store there. It'll have a little bit more safe and parking for that area, so I think it'll be a good change for that one.
Okay. Do you know your hours of operation or anything of that sort at this point?
I'm thinking that we would go with the line of the hours of the general store, but certainly not opening an ice cream shop at 6:30 in the morning, but thinking 12 to maybe 8 p.m. till it gets dark, and no later than that, I would think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
And when you said seasonally, what do you mean by seasonally?
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
And Christmas. Just one other day.
After 8?
The ice cream would be free that day.
Put that in writing.
Yeah.
Open on the day of Run for the Hills.
Yes, of course. I just want to speak to the parking a little bit, because you can see where the parking lot is, and there's nothing defined there. People tend to park on the lawn a little bit, so I think by cleaning up and defining the parking lot is what we're meaning to do, and put the lines in. Because right now, it's just, people kind of park wherever they can. And now with the new sidewalks that went in, I think there'll be less parking, no parking on the street, actually. I think the signs are up for that. But that's how I see it, right? Like squaring off the
Yeah.
parking lot, fencing in the dumpsters, cleaning it up.
Okay.
And how many spots do they have now? There's no Yeah, lines. just a big- Yeah, the big picture, smorgasbord of- well, right now, there's 6 in front of the store, and I'd say there's room for 5 cars on the side right now, but if we define it more, then you could,
I think we could get a couple more
Yeah,
spots.
we can definitely
I went by
get
there
it.
today, it appears to be a bit more than that.
Yeah.
More
a
than
pr-
6?
More than 5 or 6 spots,
I think
would
I think it could be, yeah.
Yeah, you can get 10, 12 cars in there, if you were on either side.
Yeah, but I don't think I want parking facing the post office. Do you know? Like, because then people backing in and out.
Are you gonna set up like picnic tables for people to eat the ice cream?
Just in the front, and just a handful. And it's, really, the thought behind this is very low-key. This is not, I'm not looking to have a chain of Dunkin' Donuts. It's very much a mom-and-pop thing, really for the neighborhood, you know, to be able to walk over and,
Yeah.
after dinner, bring your kids for an ice cream cone. But in the same way we approach the general store, we don't want to disrupt the neighborhood in any way, and just add to it is really
And
the intention.
If I could suggest something, you know, they're more here just for the change of use, but when they actually present plans to make the alteration, maybe a site plan approval would be appropriate for parking and, you know, stuff like, where they'll have tables and chairs.
So does the board feel that this is a substantial change that needs to be in front of this board? Just take or going from a dentist to a ice cream shop with a
I
window?
think they're just both businesses and they're both in the table, so they fit. Doesn't matter what the business is.
Are you okay to move forward? Okay.
No,
Any more comments or questions from the board?
I think it'd be, in my view, it's gonna be a good fit to the general store.
Okay. All right. So this is, is about having the use. So as Andrew described, you'll probably be back in front of us with a more definitive idea of what the perimeter is, and like
Right.
split rail fence or a couple
Yeah.
of tables, and
That's
it'll be
what
a
we're
quick,
thinking.
easy.
We also have a plan for landscaping too.
Yeah, and all that.
Which is pretty comprehensive
Yeah.
and really takes into consideration that entire
Okay.
picture, so.
Okay, good enough.
I think that could be helpful.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions from the public? Again, if you're calling in.
Pam has a question.
I'm sorry?
Pam has her hand up.
Yes.
I'm not in a butter. I can't say this, you know, what effect this will have on any neighbors or anything, and maybe they're all in agreement, but I just want to make the comment that the bylaw really disallows changes of use. Non-conforming structures are supposed to become more conforming and not really change the use. So I just want to make the comment that when it comes to the hearing that I think a lot of us are here for, that also might be considered a change of use or whatever, and I object to the board very lightly or inconsistently applying the laws that really are in black and white. And they're also a state law that, you know, a substantial change of use or whatever is really not supposed to be carried out. So I'm just stating an objection overall that I don't like the board treating. This doesn't sound quite right, to tell you the truth, and I'm just saying it carries over into other cases where I hope that the board is not following the bylaw laws so lightly or in this way.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
Have none.
Action to that? No?
I'm good.
Any further comments from the public? Again, if you're dialing in, you need to press *6. Alrighty. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2170.
Second?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit for 173 Prospect Street. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye. Chris Belazos, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
So you're the vote on that, Larry?
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, so you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Good luck. We'll see you again in a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have case 2171 for 12 Branch Street here? Hi,
Seats up front if people want to sit down.
how are you? Wherever you'd like to sit. Welcome.
Same to you. Glad
Okay.
to be here.
I'm going to read this into the record and then we'll get started. This is case 2171 for Allison M. Doherty. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 and 305-13.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing 1.5-story dwelling and block foundation and construct a new 20-foot by 30-foot, 2.5-story dwelling and concrete foundation, a 5-foot by 7-foot replacement front covered entrance deck, and an 8-foot by 6-foot replacement rear entrance deck, both with associated stairs on the property located at 12 Branch Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel N06-03-07A and is located in an R3 zoning district. So my name is Lynn Fiddler. Welcome. If you'd like to identify yourself for the record, and we will hear what you have planned, and Andrew will begin by putting some of the attachments up on the board for us.
Tom Trokey.
Hi,
Mark
Tom.
Trokey. Mark Trokey.
Mark, thank you. So would you explain your project?
Sure.
Thank you.
The property was purchased the end of last year, and the intent was to renovate it and make it a nice livable place for a young couple that bought the property, Allison and her soon-to-be husband.
Okay.
He happens to be my grandson, his son, so there you go. We're all together on that.
Okay.
So they started to decide how they were going to renovate the property. It turned out that a couple things happened. One, the amount of dollars that it was going to take to renovate it caused it to be a level 3 or a complete renovation. So, and at the same time, FEMA changed from an AE 9 to an AE 12, so they had to raise it. So, raise the house, not raise the building at that time. So that led to a lot of thinking about cost-wise what the best way to do it was, and the decision was to tear it down and start from new on exactly the same footprint that it has been now. So it didn't change any setbacks, everything was the same. We talked about the decks, but there were decks already there, so it's just taken the place of it. They're in the same footprint.
Okay.
And we had architectural plans drawn up. We have copies of them there, I guess, in the package. And we have surveyed the property prior to anything being done, so all the existing property has been surveyed, and we've also surveyed it for the proposed dwelling and changes.
I'm looking. Do we have a deed for this property?
We do.
Okay. Andrew, do you have any comments?
I've been working with these gentlemen since the beginning. They really just want to elevate essentially they're building the same house that was there. It's just going to be elevated and compliant with FEMA. They're dealing with Concom as to what type of foundation they can go there, whether it's the concrete foundation that they'd like or some other type of pile foundation, but that's kind of beyond what we are going to decide here. Essentially, they're just seeking to raise and rebuild. It's very similar to what we usually do, using the same setbacks. All the stairways are going to be pretty much in the same exact location. Just going to have a couple of extra steps. Nothing. They've done some redesigns to make sure that
by raising it, we couldn't have the steps on the front because that would have put us right out to the street, so we had to put the steps to the side. But there already was a bump out on the side, so we're just in that deck is in the same place that a bump out was before.
You're referring to the west side deck?
Yes.
Yeah. So did those steps come into that front setback, actually? Is it coming?
No, it's set up so that it meets the,
Okay.
conforms to the code.
Do you want to just throw the site plan up? Thank you.
That was the before, that's what it is right now.
Yep.
And as I said, the decks on the rear is there right now, and the deck to the side was a bump out. So that becomes a deck instead of a bump out. But it already was something there.
I'm just trying to,
And because it went up the steps, we had to go a little further with the steps, but we still kept it within the half the distance of the setback. That's the existing
okay.
on the left there.
So, okay.
On the architectural plans, we show both the existing and the new
Yes.
construction.
So this is the existing bump out on the left here,
Right.
and then they're gonna transition that into these stairs to access the house.
Right. So there's no change in lot area, obviously frontage, no change in the width, no
No.
change in the depth, no change in the front yard, no change in the side yard on the east, and you're a little bit under, you were at
grab a chair.
33.6 on the existing, and you're a little bit under that, so that you're not getting any more non-conforming on that westerly side.
No,
No change in the yard. Maximum height, you're under the 35 feet.
Yes.
Do we have the height?
yes, there's another drawing that shows cross-section through the house.
It's right in, I haven't seen it. Let's just see it.
One more, yeah, there it is,
Can
right
you
there.
just zoom in on that for me, please, Andrew?
Tiny house, it's a small house.
That'd be nice.
But they're under their top ridge is less than 35, and that's
Okay.
including the elevation
Okay.
of the structure.
If there were if we did have to go to piles, it would be in the same location as what is shown there in the cross-section.
And what's the plan with conservation?
We have a meeting on the 5th, scheduled for the 5th. They have all the information.
Yeah.
We went through all the
Okay,
documentation
okay.
with Bill Grafton, so
Okay, you're in good shape.
we
Okay. Anything, comments from planning?
No.
Any questions from the board?
Nope.
I'm good.
Hello, Mr. Feeney.
Hello.
How are you?
Good yourself.
Found yourself a seat?
Yeah, I got it, thanks.
Okay. Were you in on this hearing? Were you here? Or was it thing?
Yes.
Or you
I
wanna
was
let-
listening, but that's okay. I don't- doesn't
Okay.
matter. Someone else can go.
Okay, good enough. So any public, further questions? No questions? Any questions from the public? Yes, please. Identify yourself for the record.
Steve Lynch, I'm in Nevada. So, who are you two? Are you the builders?
He's my son.
He's your son?
We gotta do.
Well, welcome to the
Excuse
neighborhood.
me, excuse me, folks. You're gonna address the board and then, yeah,
Oh.
that's all. Just, we're gonna try to work that way.
So, this is not why I'm here tonight, obviously, but since I am in a butt, I might as well talk.
Well, there you go.
So, I said, well, builder.
Do you have any specific questions?
No,
You just wanted to introduce yourself?
yeah.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Good luck, go ahead, build it.
What a guy.
Thanks, Steve.
Any questions, any further questions from the public? Again, you need to press star 6 if you're dialing in. Alrighty. Does the board feel we need to have any more discussion, or should we go to close?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close case 2171, which is 12 Branch Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of closing?
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Pelizos, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
So we're closed, and you're the vote on this, correct?
You know what, Len, you can give my vote to Larry or Chris on this one.
Okay. So why don't you take Brian's vote and you take Steve's vote?
Come on, I'll get Brian.
You want Brian's vote?
That's my vote.
Let's take it.
Don't get too,
They both.
okay. So we are closed. So this particular hearing is in reference to the special permit for 10.12, and we also have 13.02 to contend with. Do we want to go to a vote, or do we want to deliberate and another time? Folks?
I'm good.
Okay. So the items for 10.12 that need to be addressed. As we are all very familiar with the items 1 through 10, the use requested for the extension or alteration is listed in the table of use as permitted. The requested extension or alteration of the use or structure is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. Requested extension or alteration of the use or structure will not further create undue traffic congestions or unduly impair pedestrian safety. You guys are reading along with me. Stop me if you're good, we've done it a million times, but number 4, does the board have any questions or comments on that, or are we all okay with this?
I'm good.
Any special regulations for the use or structure as set forth in Article 12 are fulfilled? The request extension or alteration of the use or structure will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare, similar to other projects in the property, in the neighborhood and in that district. The request extension or alteration of the use or structure will not bring the use or structure into violation or further violation of the regulations set forth in Article 6, Table of Dimensional Density Regulations, unless a variance is also granted. Okay. The extended or altered use or structure will not be substantially different in character. The building itself is similar to other projects in the district. The extended or altered use or structure will not become more detrimental or objectionable to the neighborhood. It's got to go up. The front setbacks, as I read earlier, it is not going to be any more non-conforming. Okay. Looks like what's that? So 10.12 is okay, so then we have. So this particular case has not gone in front of Concom yet, but this is 1302 Coastal Wetlands District. Can you help us with this?
It's condition of approval, they'll have to get an order of conditions.
I'm sorry?
You'll have to get an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission.
guys are all going through 1302 with me. Okay. Board of Appeals procedure, the board shall not take final action on an application for a special permit hereunder until it has received a report from the building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer, the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission, and Planning Board, or until 30 days have elapsed after receipt of such plan. Without submission of a report, the board shall give due consideration to all reports, and where its decisions differ from the recommendations received, shall state the reasons therefore in writing. Board may, as a condition of approval, require that effective notice be given to prospective purchasers by signs or otherwise of past flooding of said premises and steps undertaken. So the condition, as Bob outlined, it have an order of conditions from Concom. We would need a certificate of occupancy. We need a final as-built. Anything else, Andrew? Other than that?
Nope.
On this?
That's for right now, that's fine.
For right now? Okay. Board members, are we okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Ready to move forward?
Yep.
Moving forward.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit in accordance with Chapter 305-10.12, acknowledging items 1 through 10 have been satisfied by the board, and 305-13.02, also acknowledging the board is conditioning the order of conditions from Concom, the as-built upon occupancy, and the occupancy permit. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi Conway. All those in favor?
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Bellitos, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you, Steve. So these 3 votes were on that. Any questions,
Which
Nancy?
3 votes?
This side, and not Mr. Feeney and not Brian. Okay, so you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Good luck with your project.
Be a while still.
We'll be here.
We'll be here.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank you.
evening. Okay. Do we have Kevin McNick? Casey.
Requested to withdraw.
It's extended.
Oh, that's, did we already do that one?
Continue.
Did we,
Yep.
did we already vote on that?
I think we opened the
Yeah,
meeting.
we did it.
Yep. What was the date we moved that
No,
to?
it was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn without prejudice?
Yeah, without prejudice. They
And I
want-
did do that, right?
Yep. They brought-
And I did Webster Point Village?
Yes. Actually, did you vote? Yeah.
Yeah,
think you
I did that. So we're on 2159A.
Yeah.
Ready? Ready? Let's get on with it. Let's do it.
Okay, do we have the applicant here for case 21-59A? Hello. Welcome. I'm going to reread this into the record. This is a new case, a new hearing, and it is identified as 21-59A. 21-59 had, did not have 10.12, but as I understand it, that's the only change between 59 and 59A. But I am going to read it into the record. The Town of Marshfield / Harbor Master. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.10, 305-10.12, 305-13.02 for the extension and alteration of the existing non-conforming use and site plan approval under 305-12.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to regrade the town's existing dredge spoils area, also referred to as DSA, to provide additional parking for a total of 94 parking spaces and 18 trailer spaces for use by Harbor Park visitors and overflow parking for the town pier on the property located at Joseph Drybeck Way, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel M07-03-01 and is located in an R3 zoning district. If you would like to start off by explaining any new information that you have for the board and the public.
I have a point
Okay,
of
great.
order before they start.
Excuse me, sir. This is not town meeting. Go ahead.
All right, Pat Brennan with Amory Engineers here with the Harbor Master on this project. As most of the board knows, we were here in August to present the project, which is a regrading of the of a portion of the dredge spoils area to provide for additional gravel parking across from Harbor Park. And basically, what when we resubmitted, resubmitted under section 10.12 to allow for to seek relief for the alteration of the dredge spoils area, because it's an existing non-conforming use, so the regrading of that is an alteration of that. We're also seeking an expansion under 1010, an expansion of the gravel parking area. There's a gravel parking area adjacent to Joseph Drybeek Way right here at the dredge spoils area. There's also a gravel parking area on this parcel at the corner of Joseph Drybeek Way and Dyke Road. So we're seeking an expansion of that accessory use for the park. I did submit a letter of September 21st, which I believe responded to some of the questions that were raised at the last hearing. I don't know if you want me to go through those questions, or?
Let's just, not quite yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So nothing on the plan has changed. It's the same plan. Nothing in the proposal has changed. Everything is exactly the same as we presented back in August. It's just seeking the additional relief under 1012 for the alteration of the existing non-conforming use, which is the dredge spoils area, and the alteration being the regrading of that area.
Okay. I would just like to address the board for this particular case, and also acknowledge that Steve Feeney will be a voting member, so this particular hearing will have all full-time members voting on this particular hearing, so that the applicant, the board, and the public are aware of that. This particular hearing, I just want to clarify and understand and have everybody understand that there's specific issues in front of us tonight, and I'd like to just get right to this in the very beginning, and then work towards the other things that we're identifying this evening. So the question is whether under the bylaw, the harbor master can propose to alter or extend a non-conforming use by granting a special permit under 10.12 and/or the issue of abandonment. These seem to be two of the concerns that this board needs to address, and then work forward on those. And it's also whether or not, if there are issues that concern the jurisdiction of another local, state, or federal board, committee, or officer, then those concerns should be given to them and have little to do with this particular board. So I'm trying to identify those particular comments, and I'd like to start with the board and see where we stand on whether or not 10.12 is something that we can address, and just maybe take a roll call vote whether or not this is the proper venue for that. Maybe Bob would like to help us with that as well.
For what?
For 10.12.
That's
for
what
this
they've applied
particular-
under.
This is the new 10.12.
That's what they've applied under.
Right, right. So does the board feel that the 10.12 is the proper bylaw for us to move forward?
I think the application's correct. I don't know if we have the overlay of the whole of the entire property, which this parcel is on. That's not, I don't believe that's it. Do we have that on GIS?
Yeah, I'll get to that one already. Thank you.
Just give me a sec here, sorry.
So we're here for this being a non-conforming use. So we have the site plan in front of us. I did notice there was one point I'd like to, if, Andrew, could you go down to the note, which is at the bottom right?
Oh, sorry.
He's showing the G,
In the middle of
he's
changing.
showing the whole
Oh,
property.
I'm sorry. Oh, he's going the, okay. That's fine. Follow with whatever Brian is working through.
That, what's the entire parcel of that
It's
piece?
right here.
How far down does it go past the, sewage plant?
I believe it goes all the way to the,
It says it includes that, but I know that's something, yeah, well, yeah, it goes all the way down here.
Can you speak up?
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear you, really.
It goes, if you look at the screen, that's the extent of the parcel, is all the way down here past the sewage treatment plant, the walkway into Brant Rock. That's the extent of the parcel there.
It's also across the
and
road.
across the street, all the way down to the other parking lot. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So it goes all the way to the other parking lot across the street, correct?
That's how I understand it.
Yes.
All right.
Did you have something you wanted to?
No, I just see
You were
this.
working through, trying to identify that?
I just wanted to make, because we're only looking at this little piece that we're working on here.
Right.
But if we're using an expansion,
Speak up, Brian, we can't hear
if we're using an expansion of an existing use, I wanted to clarify that that parking lot at the end of the road is attached to this parcel.
What does that mean?
So what he's trying to understand and identify on the site plan is what this entire parcel is, so that we can further identify what uses are on that parcel and confirm that this particular use is non-conforming as pre-existing non-conforming use. And that's where, I think that's, is that what you were trying to?
Just showing that there's existing parking on this parcel.
I don't want to put words in your.
That's all I'm looking for.
I'm sorry, at this particular time, the public is not invited to speak. So there will be a time for when the public is invited to speak. We're just trying to work through it with the board at this particular moment. So I'd like to everybody to be respectful of that. So you will have a chance to speak, but currently that's where we're just trying to understand. Okay. So if the board feels that 10.12 is a non-conforming use, and we're here for the right reasons, we will move forward. Want to take a roll call vote? Mark Stiles?
Well, I'm wondering, is site plan approval an avenue of, that might work, Bob?
No. So this property was acquired by the town in an order of taking on April 22nd of 1931. It's a very large parcel, encompasses a lot of the town pier, the islands in the harbor, stretches all the way down to Caswell Street. And on a portion of this land, we now have the harbor park and we have the wastewater treatment facility. Those are the improvements. So you have the pier, the park, and the wastewater treatment facility.
Well, what's your opinion as to whether or not we're proceeding correctly?
Speak up.
Well, if in fact these uses predated the zoning or were otherwise permitted under some prior permit, it's possible to alter or extend or change a non-conforming use under section 10.12. I heard what Ms. Keep said before about how the bylaw treats non-conforming uses, and I only partially agree with that. Marshall's bylaw is nothing like the bylaw in Duxbury, which actually tries to extinguish non-conforming uses. Section 10.12 is actually a fairly permissive use. It allows the board to extend or alter a non-conforming use or structure, provided that the board grants a special permit. And there's several criteria, I guess it's the 10 criteria. And one thing that the Marshall bylaw does that a lot of bylaws don't do is it allows you to change one non-conforming use to another use or expand non-conforming uses. So it is exactly the opposite of what Ms. Keith indicated. It's a permissive bylaw if the board finds that all those criteria are met. Most bylaws don't allow you to do that, particularly with respect to commercial uses, but Marshall's bylaw is not like other bylaws, it's more permissive.
So, based on what you're saying, leaving aside which way it goes, we are at least working within the proper structure.
Yeah, I saw a note that was written by Ms. Keith earlier where she was critiquing the presentation because it didn't include section 10.12, and I think she was correct in doing that. In order to be considered properly, and I think it has to be considered under this section.
Okay.
So that was the roll call vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other point I wanted to understand is what other forces are in play here as far as jurisdiction, whether or not this parking lot is in a dredge spoil area, and what questions do we need to ask that would allow that to occur, and whether it's our preview to make those calls. So I'm looking for some communication
I can tell you,
on that.
I don't think it is your call to determine whether something
Right.
complies with somebody else's jurisdiction. I think you're confined to the topics that you're allowed to consider, which are the topics under A10 of section 10.12.
So we're talking about the same things that we just were going through, 1 through 10.
Correct.
And then.
If there are other state or local or federal regulations that have to be complied with, they have to be complied with, and you can't affect a change to that.
Right.
So if you're inclined to improve it, then you have to condition approval on compliance with any other board's jurisdiction, any other state regulation, or federal regulation, if there's anything else.
Where's that piece of paper that I had earlier? I had drafted a possible condition. Where is it?
I think you need to, run down the factors and make a determination whether those factors are met.
Okay.
10 criteria. And if it doesn't meet any of those criteria, then you can't grant this relief.
Okay.
Because the bylaw says you have to find all of these things.
All right. Well, obviously, there's a lot of people here that would like to have their voices heard. I also would like to be clear that a lot of folks did speak at the previous hearing, so we're trying to investigate and get information that's concrete. If you have something you disagree with, it just can't be hearsay. It needs to be something that's concrete and with a professional background, professional nature. So I just want to make sure that that's something that we just don't want to have a bunch of folks that just don't want this project.
Lynn,
Yeah.
perhaps you could ask anybody that wishes to speak for or against the project, direct their attention to the specific things they do not believe the board can find or should find,
Okay,
so that they're acting within the confines of the things that you have to actually consider.
okay. All right, so I think that's probably, so there is a lot of information. Nancy has received several emails and public letters and things of that nature.
We've
So
got
the
another one
file
tonight.
on this is quite large. I don't think it's necessary that I read all of that into the record. But perhaps, Nancy, do you have an index of that the public would be able
I
to?
did not put one together, but I will.
You would put that together for us?
Do you want it tonight, or?
No,
There's a lot to go through.
There's a lot there, so I just want the board to understand that there is quite a few emails with attachments, et cetera, that will be part of the record and available for the board to review. I know everybody's received them in their emails and has had time. We did receive some today. That was kind of last minute for me. But, anything else? All right. Pat, Brennan, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time unless there's specific questions.
Okay, so let's just open it up for the public to speak, and then we'll have them address the board, and then if the questions are appropriate, we'll go back to you. So, hello, identify yourself for the record.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So I have a few different things to say. To start off with the application, I have a problem with the application. So it says here, the site has an existing gravel parking area in the dredge spoil area. So that is misleading because the existing parking lot that's there is unlawful. The parking lot that was built on the same parcel of land that we use now, the paved parking lot, was built in 1966. I was there. That's before zoning in Marshfield. The parking lot that they're using in the dredge spoil area was built way after that, in the late 80s, or whenever it was built, long past zoning. So when you put on this application, existing gravel parking lot, an existing unlawful parking lot is what it is. So that needs to be clear. And the lawful parking lot was built before zoning. So it's not some non-conforming use you're expanding. It was there before. It was built in 1966. I was there when the trucks came and built it. And secondly, there's other things to look other than just 1012 and the 10 criteria. Marshfield has a zoning bylaw that allows the residents of the area, if they disagree with just it being there because they feel it's detrimental to their neighborhood, that you have to take into consideration also. And we have almost unanimously got everyone on all these streets. We are totally against doing this. There was no reason to do this. Can I ask the harbor master a question?
Why don't you ask me the question and I'll let you...
Okay, so I sent him a Freedom of Information Act because I thought crucial to this application was, out of all the parking and launching permits he sells, I want to know how many are Marshfield residents compared to non-Marshfield residents.
I don't understand the relevance of that with this particular permit.
What do you mean you don't understand
What
the
is
relevance?
the relevance
The
for
relevance
that?
is that we pay taxes in Marshfield for our little resource. And you're gonna be catering to people.
Okay.
I bet it's like 4 to 1
So, Steve,
non-Marshfield
Mr. Lynch,
residents that use the
Mr.
parking
Lynch,
lot.
I understand, and I understand the point you're trying to go towards, but that's not, you're trying to determine whether or not this is need-based and going down the avenue of that, and that's not why we're here. We're here for the special permit. So if you can determine what in those items 10.12
So
and
it's
13.02.
detrimental to our neighborhood for you to bring in people who don't live in Marshfield and make this a destination
That's a
location.
separate
to drive up and down
subject.
our street with trucks
That
and
is a
trailers and
Steve-
boats on it.
Mr. Lynch, that is a separate project, a separate subject, not for this board's time this evening. So if there's something else in
So you're
addition
saying it's
to
not
that,
relevant to the permit application?
I don't believe that that is relevant to this permit.
So the well-being of the residents who live in this neighborhood?
I don't, I'm not speaking for the entire board. I am telling you from my understanding that I don't feel that that is relevant to
Okay,
this
so,
board.
all right, then let's get back to the reason we need this parking lot, because of congestion, right, at the town pier, so you need expanded parking. Well, the pond is only so big. The amount of footage of dock space is only so big. Right now, we have a mix of residents, which I am, commercial users, which I am, mixed in this area that have to live and work together. We have a pretty good working relationship between everyone right now. To expand that use, where you're gonna add another 100 parking spaces to use our small little town pier, is gonna put undue congestion on the fishermen that work there and people like myself who live and work there. And we don't want that to happen. We pay the taxes there. This is our resource. We don't have to share it with someone from Worcester or Springfield or wherever, and we pay the taxes for the whole thing. And this is our neighborhood, and it's a detriment to our neighborhood to expand the use of of a area which the reason they're coming there for, you can't expand the size of that, or that use. But you're gonna add more people to the mix, what is the sense of that?
Okay, Steve, I understand your point. So is there another topic other than other folks from the other towns that aren't residents should not be allowed? Okay.
I didn't say they should be allowed, I just
Should
said
be
you should cater to them.
Shouldn't care,
and-
okay.
And make it more accessible to them.
Okay, all right. Sir,
I'm agreeing with you, Steve, on that. I just moved down here a few
name
months
and,
ago.
name and address for the record, please.
Paul Clark, Grand Street. And again, I agree with you.
What's your
I
address,
believe
please?
as far as,
Mr. Clark, what?
12 Branch Street.
12 Branch Street, thank you.
I believe that we shouldn't be on the verge as far as actually having really something put forth that we have to be on the defensive of in bringing certain type of issues. I think the quality of life really should come into play here. And let's not deny the fact here too, we're thinking of the casino over in Revere,
Okay,
where
so
the property was acquired and it was contaminated soil involved.
Sir, let's not go off the beaten path into a subject that is not necessary as far as what we need to hear,
We're
this
talking
evening.
about a soil differential change.
So the argument, and okay, so that's something that we can address, and we can ask the applicant to address the contamination and whether or not it's waste, but bringing in another outside, let's work towards that. So I'd like to ask the applicant, can you address the concerns over the public feeling that this is a waste type of project?
Sure.
Sediment
Yeah, so-
and discuss the Concom.
So we,
as well.
we had submitted to the board the chemical analyses from the last two dredging projects that that placed the sediment in that area. One was a project by the town, the other one was by Taylor Marine, and we provided the summary sampling results for that chemical analyses. And based on those analyses, the soil that has been placed there does not meet any of the criteria for it to be a reportable, basically hazardous soil under a category S1 under the Massachusetts Contingency Plan. And basically, the category S1 for accessible soil, which is 0 to 3 feet, so that would be what we're talking about here with the parking area. The category S1 is to protect when children are present at a high-intensity frequency, which would be a parking area, people walking in the parking area. We do not meet any of those thresholds. We're well below any of those contamination thresholds on an order of magnitude of, over 10 to 100, well below those. We did submit those analyses to the board, and as far as the contamination goes, it's not contaminated soil when you look at the Massachusetts Contingency Plan, which is what regulates contaminated soil in the state.
Thank you. Just a second, please. Just a second, please.
Board of Public Works.
Just a second, please. I'm just looking to find. Can you just reference Pat's email for that with those, for the record, his report, or do you have it?
They were attached to my September 21st letter to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's Pat Brennan's contention that this is, as far as S1 non-contaminated, am I understanding this correctly? Okay. And you have the actual,
I'm gonna skip right down.
yep, thank you.
those are the reports.
And you
there.
need to have a degree in soil science and whatnot to work through this. And
You can look at it, in the Massachusetts contingency plan, there are tables in there.
Yep.
Where you can look up what those limits are. And basically, so I'll go down them really quick, just the ones that are in, so I'll look at it's a couple pages down from here, but it's the Taylor Marine
Yeah.
summary. So our,
yeah, I agree. I just want to so unless the public has something to defute or another individual here that has additional information to say that what you're saying is incorrect. Yeah,
May I follow up?
sure.
I believe, you said the town of Marshfield actually wound up coming up with these tests. I believe, I feel much more comfortable if an independent type of company went forth and took these type of tests and took in maybe like 20 feet around all these whole grounds that are hundreds of yards as far as in
Okay.
length.
Well, have you?
Thorough test.
Well,
Independent.
are you willing to provide a person to do that for you for your interests?
I would like
The board will.
the board come forth as far as an independent.
So we have in front of us, the applicant has in front of us concrete documents. Yes, yes.
Hi, Mary Murphy, 252 Ocean Street. So, again, I'm really concerned with the safety of this, and I think it's
So,
great.
Mary, so I just want to make sure that we're going to go from one topic to the next. So we were
This is all
talking.
about DSA,
Okay.
and it's about the safety. And so I did
So
talk
we're
to
talking about contamination versus, okay,
Contamination.
okay, good enough. Go ahead.
Like, I'm just concerned because, we've been dumping DSA material on that site since the 60s. My husband and neighbors that live in the neighborhood were not able to ride their bikes in there in the mid-70s because they were told it's toxic. Now, I understand that in today's world, because I've been talking to people at the DEP, that in today's world that you can in fact, use DSA material and change it. But because we've been dumping things there for so long, it's my understanding that it's not necessarily something that you can change. You can't change the use of this DSA to be anything else but DSA being dumped there. They're getting back to me, they're pulling all the records from the 70s, and my understanding is that there was somebody at the DEP that stated something in 2004, and I'm getting the records sent to me, that this was only to be used for DSA. So I'm just interested to see that the harbor master and the gentleman that's sitting next to him have only looked at the past 2 dumpings, even though we've been dumping DSA materials there since the 60s. And I know John Cusick is gonna tell you that the DPW is gonna be pulling results for 20 feet for wherever that will be. But my whole concern is that, again, the usage, right? Like, how can you go from DSA material to parking lot or something else, or, even just parking lot, and just know that, even if you have events there or people are parking there, there could be something really toxic well underneath that 20 feet.
So-
Do you want to approve that as a board? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, so do you have any concrete information from DSA as far as a report that would be available?
DEP.
Okay, that would be.
I should have it, I'm just waiting,
In the near future?
I'm working
like
on that right now.
Within days?
Within the next week, perhaps. So I'd like to be able to submit that to you, Lynn, and others. if that's
And
possible.
who is it that you're speaking with?
I'm talking to Peter Wong and another gentleman at the DEP, and they're pulling the records now, and they're going to get back to me on Friday, is what they told me. Again, it's more about safety for me. I just want to make certain that,
So what specific records are they pulling for you?
they were going back as far as they could go.
Just to get a history of
All
what's
the
been.
history, because again, I was told, one of the former president of the Grand Rock Village Association in 2004 had received documentation from the DEP stating that it was only to be used for DSA material. So I'm just trying to get that information to give to you,
Okay.
but I don't have it in hand.
All right. Yes, sir. Identify yourself for the record, please.
John Cusick, member of the Board of Public Works. This testing here is 2002, it's 20 years old. It's almost 20 years old.
Jesus.
2010 was when the town dumped their dredge spoils. So we're looking at, 12 years, 20 years? And the analyses have changed. What's good in 2002 might be not good in 2021. So, through the Board of Public Works, through the DPW, we're gonna test it. We're gonna test it. I'd like to see it core. And I'd like to see it for PCBs and for PFAS, which is something that's in everything. So if we start moving this dredge spoils around for illegal, non-conforming use, it can't be done. We've heard Mr. DeMayo talk about extending this parking because large trailers have been a problem. Well, under the director of boating and the piers, Mr. Cameron, under 320, 2.00, you need to park a trailer in our town pier in the striping. You can't park it out of the striping. Under 2.04 of 320, it's a $100 fine, and the trailer would be tagged.
So
All right, I'm just going on
Yeah.
to tell you.
I read your email and I understand that you're in a, that you
You
feel
know,
like
that's
the
something that.
need is, yeah.
So now you want to go back on the testing. If, in fact, you want to discuss or approve anything, it should be with the agreement that this soil is going to be tested. And it's going to come back, in my estimation, as something that's going to be a problem for the neighborhood, just in the fumes.
So when will that testing occur as far as your,
We're putting it out to bid.
okay, so this is, so you've been aware that this project, and you haven't
I mean,
secured somebody to
I'm a
take
member of
care
the
of
Board of
that.
Public Works.
I understand
I'm working
that.
through the DPW superintendent. all
Okay.
right? Things don't happen overnight in
All right.
government. You know that.
I do know that.
Yeah, so, you know, this, you know, it hasn't
Okay.
happened. It will happen.
Okay.
There's a lot of red
So
tape.
it's the public's burden to show us proof and give us information so that we can make a judgment call on things. And
But
so
that's what you're
at
here
this
for.
particular, yeah, exactly. So at this particular moment in time, you do not have information available to this board to support your argument that the area is contaminated. Is that correct?
At the last meeting, I believe Mr. Brennan agreed that it should be tested.
And I believe that is showing
No,
us
no,
that
no,
it
no,
has been
that's
tested.
2002. He's just showing old testing.
So,
We were talking about
Yes.
new testing.
Current.
So John, would the, before they placed any dredge spoils there after 2002, do they test the material before it gets dumped there also?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it is tested.
But they only started that. That's
But we're looking at the dredge spoils back into the 60s.
60s, right,
This
where
is
it
one
wasn't.
little section
just
of
a
graph
second,
is big.
everybody.
So we want to.
Mr.
so
Cusack, address Brian and
Mr.
then-
Bryan,
Yep.
Mr. Brennan, excuse me, agreed that it should be tested. But he's not talking about test results, it should be tested. That was in your first meeting.
Anything to add?
No, I just wanted to make sure that if this is from 2002, moving forward, all the material before it goes in there is tested before it's placed. Is that
That's
correct?
those results there,
Right.
20 years ago.
But I'm saying in 2010, before they dumped.
You know it's been tested,
So
Brian.
it was tested.
Don't,
No, I'm just,
you know,
I'm
don't-
letting, John, I'm letting everyone in
I-
the
I-
audience
I know,
understand
I
that
know.
it wasn't just dumped there without being tested. It's been tested.
You've already said that 4 times. How many, you want to say it
Twice,
5?
actually, yeah. Twice.
It's going to be tested.
Okay, sir. Would anybody else?
Say something. Bob Astle on Cove Street. I think later the fact some of the information has come up
Bob, I'm
tonight.
sorry. Perhaps it's because of the mask, but
Bob Astle on Cove Street.
I just want to make sure
I
we.
think later the fact some of the information that has come out tonight, I think the vote should be put off for maybe 30 or 60 days until they can provide this information to the board. Then this will better help the board to make a decision the right way.
So
I
who's
think
doing
if
the
the vote was
testing?
taken tonight, I think it might be haphazard, and you're gonna have to come back and what have you. You're gonna have to go through rigmarole and everything else and what have you. That's gonna take more time, and it will be worse for the parties involved in the town, to include the board and what have you. So I think if it's pushed off for 30 to 60 days until these people, the DPW is a town department, they're credible. And I think this young lady back here was getting the information also from the state, credible also, so it's not haphazard information that's coming in. If nothing else, it will help the board, put the board in better light.
Thank you for your input. Pam?
I have a bunch of comments about the other stuff, 10.12 and stuff, I assume you're getting back to that, but
Yeah,
on.
let's just
But on, yeah, I just wanna say something quickly on the toxicity.
I know, I said Pam Keith, identify yourself, I guess.
Oh, sorry,
for the
Pam
record.
Keith, 73 Standish Street. On toxic, I just wanna make something, it's not a very technical comment, but Mr. Murphy's telling people in the room that the stuff is tested before it's dumped. Well, when you look at like the last Taylor testing from 2009, or the Taylor documents, they filed online at Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. What happens is they're testing for water quality versus, they want to protect the ocean. We have a water quality, certificate that protects the aquatic life. And what happens is when any dredge spoils fail the testing, as in they're too toxic to go to sea, they've been dumping them on land. Now, whether that makes it toxic for some level, like the engineer mentioned S1, soil or whatever, that I don't know all the guidelines for that. But what Mr. Murphy, if he's just trying to say, oh, these things have been tested, as in they're good things that have been dumped there, it's just the opposite. Taylor Marine's documents that are online that you can read clearly state that the dredging in 2009 was divided almost in half. It was 2.5 acres, 1.2 acres one way, 1.3 acres another way. One half of it was suitable to go out to the ocean, the other half that was unsuitable went to land, dredge spoils area.
Do you have that document?
It's online
Okay,
at
for
Plymouth
the
County
board.
Registry of Deeds, but I mean,
Book and page?
I don't have it written in front of me, no. But you guys just reviewed 2 years ago, the Green Harbor Yacht Club dredging. Now, that was unsuitable also. That was too toxic to go out to sea. You guys approved it to go, or substantially this board, I'm not sure exactly who's there, but you approved it to go on land in Marshfield. Now, so far, it's not going on land, although that applicant keeps saying in the meetings that he's could maybe still dump it on land at some future date. But you officially, I guess,
There were a lot of
changed.
other players involved other than this board.
But yeah, no, well, I'm just saying though, that particular thing, there was a major document at that point, which I think the Board of Public Works got, which I got to see, was very nicely written, had all the chemical stuff in there, and it clearly spelled out that it was too toxic to
So
go to
let's,
sea.
but we're not, so we're talking, rather than go down another avenue, let's focus on what you're here, so you're here as far as tonight with 10.12.
Oh, I've got
And you do,
about
and I'm
6
sure,
comments.
so as you know, the ZBA has rules of procedure to govern what we're doing here. And typically, every abutter or member of the public has the opportunity to speak, and the amount of time that they are given to speak is pretty short, which is.
Well,
So I know, I am not going to cut you off, Pam, but I would like you
I
to.
plan on doing what I'm saying as quickly as possible.
Okay,
I
so-
just- But I just say, we skipped over talking about 10.12, we went straight to toxic.
So before we go into, I'm going to give you the floor for a few more minutes. Are there any other members here that are in support of this project?
Sure.
Okay. Are there any members online or dialing in?
I'm sorry, I don't think you heard me. I'm in support of this project.
Thank you. What is your name for the record?
My name is Linda Deichman.
I want her address.
What's your address?
Address.
Excuse me, folks.
I'm not going to give my address because
Can't talk
I
then.
was stalked online and threatened.
No,
Yeah,
no.
John Pacific knows
So,
exactly where
all
I
right,
live. No
just a
worries.
minute, Linda,
No.
just a second,
Yeah.
folks. I hate to say behave yourselves, but I'm gonna say behave yourselves.
Yeah. Do say.
Hang up.
I understand.
Texas anyway.
While we're on the subject of people supporting it, I'd like to support it also.
Okay, so typically I have the supporters speak in the beginning, and at this point, the public here is all in opposition. So there's a lot to be said in this, and I would like to just have our board kind of reflect what is going on here for a second, dial back before Pam goes on. So, board members, we've heard quite a bit at this particular time. Just to review, contamination. We have 2 members of the public that would like the opportunity for this board to consider information that they do not yet have available to them. Is that something that this board feels that we are in a position that we would like to wait for that information, or was it the burden of these particular of the public to come up with this information prior to this meeting this evening?
Mark asked a question that wasn't answered.
And Mark?
Mark did?
You did. When?
Yeah,
When are you gonna test?
Yeah.
So let's just
This is
kind
a
of
new
regroup for a
filing now,
second.
right? I mean, we're in a
It
new
is a
filing
new
now.
filing. So there's been a lot of information at this point.
So do you want to just hear what the people in support have to say, since we're very clear that there's a lot here that don't? So let's hear what they have to say, get that out of the way, so that you can understand where that side's coming from as well. We'll get any additional information that we need.
Folks.
Possibly, and then we can try to assess where we need to go from there.
Fine?
I think, John said the Board of Public Works is testing it, correct? I mean, I think we should still get through the meeting and we'd like to hear all the concerns this is just one part of it.
Right.
Let's get through everything, and then we can decide how we move from there.
Okay.
Mary also would like to present something to the board also.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to Pam and hear what she has to say.
Let's get these supporters out, taken care of.
Yep.
Only 2.
So,
It's only 2.
Linda.
She can't talk without giving her address.
It's a public meeting. She can give her name. If she doesn't want to give her address because she's afraid that she's going to be threatened, she can have.
Jesus. Well, yeah. Hey,
Quiet.
be quiet. The judge has spoken.
Is the public gonna have to wait till the end of the meeting to speak to the public comment, or can we just, I mean, this is
No.
kind of like a,
No, I'm standing up right now because that's what I do when my kids are.
Please don't say that, we aren't kids.
well,
So,
I'm not,
and I don't want
ma'am,
to
I'm not one of
insinuate.
your- I'm not one of your children, ma'am, I'm not one of your children.
I
I'm a resident
understand that.
of
So I'd like
Portsmouth.
to, I'm addressing Linda. Is Linda available? Linda, if you'd like to speak, press star 6. And I am going to sit down.
Right, now talk, Michael's here.
Okay, Linda is not available to speak. Is there another member of the public that would like to speak in?
Scott Dixon says he wants to.
Scott?
Michael Keelty was next.
I'm
Scott?
sorry, can you hear me now?
I
Can you
can,
hear me now?
I can you.
Rising.
Hello?
Linda, I can hear you, so be quick and,
Okay,
be quick and to
I'm
the
sorry.
point.
Start writing notes for a second.
I'm in the tunnel right now on my way that direction. Anyhow, I would like to say that I became aware of this project through some remarks online about, our town government being, trying to pull the wool over our eyes and not, being on the up and up. I went ahead and looked at, all of the documents and such that everyone put out there about this project, and I don't see it. I think this would be a great project for the small businesses in the area, have parking, for people to go ahead and walk, in the area, go to different businesses, bring their boats in if they live in Hanover, or if they live in Maine, and go ahead
Or
and use
Texas.
these resources. They are not our resources. We have tax dollars from the state, from the federal government that go and to take care of these areas, and they belong to everyone. Access is huge, and I think that this will help provide access to many people who deserve it. It's not just about people who live within a stone throw of the area. It's about everyone, and I think that these people who are trying to fire up people for
All right, Linda?
reasons that really don't exist.
Linda, can you
are
hear my
having a
voice?
problem. Your voice.
Linda, can you hear my voice? So we're here to evaluate information and take in new information. So you are in favor of this And your argument is,
She's been muted.
okay. She's muted. Next person that would like to speak?
Hi, this is Scott Dixon. Can you hear me?
Scott Dixon, for the record, address please, if you're willing.
82 Ocean Street.
Thank you, Scott. Would you like to share?
Yeah, I'd like to say that directionally, I'm in support of this project. I think the improvements made by the harbor master in the town down at the pier have been very positive over the last few years. I think it's an asset to the town. I think it's an asset to the community, and from an economic development point of view, I think it's a positive move. With that said, out of respect to the immediate abutters and immediate neighbors, I do think it's appropriate to have the testing of the dredge spoils completed before any kind of final approval is given.
Thank you, Scott. Any other comments?
Yes, this is Brian McCarthy, 32 Dundee Drive.
Brian, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to echo Mr. Dixon's support of what the harbor master and his team have done in the past. It's been absolutely wonderful. But what I see now is a very overloaded, crowded area. And what we're doing here is we're going to add more heavy traffic to that area. I don't see the big trailers carrying boats do anything for the local business other than wear out the roads. They don't stop at the stores, they don't stop at the restaurants, they're just here to use our ramps. So we're making it more congestion, we're damaging the road, which also serves as a natural barrier to keep during storms and surges. So we're just destroying that and eliminating it.
Sir, are you in opposition or in favor of this project?
Absolute opposition.
Okay, so we're here asking for folks that are in favor of this project.
Michael Kiley?
Michael, I can hear your voice.
Yes.
Address, please.
Yes, ma'am. 743 Ocean Street, Marshfield, Mass. I'm 100% in favor of this project. I'm not going to believe the point of all the angry people on the inside. I support it. I will send an email to support it. And if anyone has a problem, they can knock on my door and we have to discuss it.
All right, Michael, thank you. Any other members of the public in favor of this project? With significant information to bring up in reference to 10.12 or the coastal wetlands?
Ma'am, if I may just add one more caveat, Michael Kiley, 743 Street.
Yes, Michael.
I can sit here and say Lizzie Borden might be buried in that parking lot, but I can't prove that. This has been going on long enough for people to come up tonight and say that they need to have it mitigated as to environmental reports. You can't just say something. This country's going downhill because people just say whatever they want. Prove it. I don't think this board should wait any longer tonight to vote on it. And because, see, there's the rumblings, they don't like what I'm saying. This is what the woke movement does. Have a good night.
Thank you, Michael.
I voted for Trump. I voted on the record.
Seriously?
Mute someone.
It's not, I mean, we're at a point where I'm
gonna
getting
mute everyone.
annoyed.
I'm gonna mute everyone so they have to unmute themselves.
Thank you.
And Lynn, I paid $34,000 in taxes this year. The harbor master doesn't even live in Marshfield. I helped make that harbor what it is, not him. I should be getting thanked.
Okay. Do we need to take a 5-minute recess and regroup? Okay, then let's do what we need to do and be respectful to the board, respectful to everybody around us, respectful to the applicants. Steve.
Okay, well, can I just say one more thing, please? So,
Steve.
oh, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. All right,
Go
this
ahead,
is
Bob.
getting at,
Go
no,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Folks, I would like to go back to Pam because I had a little bit of a stopping point so we could talk to the board and get the folks online. So Pam, I'd like to hear your point of view. And the subject also came up about an abandoned use. So I'm sure you're going to get to that. I'd like to make the board aware of that, and we will work towards that as well. So the floor is yours.
All right.
Again, identify yourself for the record.
Pam Keith, 73 Central, Standard Street. I do want to say what you people were talking about earlier, it probably isn't clear to people in the room. You're talking about abandonment and you start talking about the state. And I do want to tell, there are people here who signed this. There are probably people here who didn't. We passed in a letter on September 21st that asked the board and they explained that there was a Grant Rock Village meeting where we discussed Dredge Spoils area as it is now is considered I believe, and someone can stop me if I'm incorrect, but it is a confined disposal facility.
We want to hear the meeting. We're not speaking.
Who's this?
I missed it.
Did you mute everybody?
Right now, I did, yes.
So currently,
Someone chatted to say
we
there's
are
a lot.
listening to Pam Keith, which is, so we are in Zoom, so it's just a little bit more confusing. So we have somebody that has raised their hand and is waiting for an opportunity to speak. So I am just making the public aware of, right now we have Pam Keith that is speaking, so I'd like before anybody else raises their hand, give her an opportunity to speak.
What we asked you to do on the very last sentence here is the residents' request, the board will provide a definite answer as to whether the dredge spoils area will be used as a confined disposal or intermediate facility in the future. What we discussed at that meeting was confined disposal is what we have now, putting dredge spoils in the ground, capping, seeding them, and leaving there permanently untouched. Intermediate facility is bringing dredge spoils possibly in and trucking them in, trucking them out. And the harbor master actually brought up, he's the one who brought it up in a waterways meeting, even possibly selling sand if we didn't use it for some other use here in town. So this letter requests to the board for a definite answer. What you guys just talked about was kind of, you know, you mentioned the state, no one knows what you're talking about, and you mentioned abandoned, and that's because if the dredge spoils confined disposal facility, the state law says you cannot dispose of dredge spoils within 500 feet of residences. It should be pretty simple to know in this town. Mr. Galvin has now left, which I don't know why.
Excuse me, he probably had another engagement.
Well, that's
and
fine.
We've got town council on the line, but
Oh, okay. We
let's
have an
just, if I
assistant?
could speak up.
Yeah,
this-
be happy.
If everybody could just, one person at a time, and just, it doesn't have to be a fight with him or this or anybody. Hold on, I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying.
That's what she's
That's
talking.
where Bob went. So go ahead and
Okay,
just
but
state
no,
your
I'm
point.
disappointed that he's gone, because he made some statements earlier and whatever. But, I'll, you know, refute them very quickly. But as far as the confined disposal, he seemed to be saying to you that it's like not your jurisdiction, or if I understood him correctly, about you don't have to decide this, or you don't have to, but if our confined disposal facility is illegal under the state law, that should be pretty easy to know. It says in black and white, can't do it in 500 feet of residence, and it looked clear to me. I wanted his opinion given to you so that you could give it to us. If we can't do confined disposal legally anymore, our dredge spoils use technically is closed, and our own bylaw says if you haven't used something within 2 years, which I was not going to argue about, because dredge spoils does sometimes go, but if the state says it's closed as of 2014.
So do you have a document to say that what you're saying is?
It's the state law.
Can you I'm asking you to reference the chapter.
314 CMR 9.00. And I think the exact section might be 9.03. I'm not sure on the exact section. But again, Mr. Galvin, it's all in this letter. You guys got this letter.
The key.
And Mr. Galvin, I'm sure, got this letter, and he was supposed to advise you. But, so all I'm saying is, what it affects is, even if you're not gonna give us an answer tonight, what it affects is if the dredge spoils area is legally closed as of the state law, which was 2014, and our own bylaw says you haven't done a certain use of 2 years, and technically the site is abandoned. The non-conforming use is.
So how would you, I'm just gonna interject. So how would you abandon sediment and dredge spoils?
Well,
Once it's there, I wanna hear your argument.
I'm just saying the use.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking to her.
I'm just saying the use of dumping.
It's there, how would it be abandoned?
The use of the dumping of dredge spoils, the actual activity of dumping dredge spoils has been abandoned in that way. So therefore, if you are going to somehow alter or expand, and in a way, change the use where you're trucking in and trucking out, which has been mentioned already by the harbor master, then you are changing the use. You have to decide, you're changing the use period, you're changing the use substantially. You're at a jumping off point. This is not the same use. The old use of dredge spoils is now gone away. It appears to be illegal.
So you keep using the term illegal. So, and I am just trying to follow the bouncing ball. So the intent, I understood that the intent of the DSA was not abandoned. And I recall there was a letter to that effect. Did anybody?
Well, again, I'm saying what you people just talked about was very vague and talking amongst yourself, and you mentioned the state and abandonment, but you really weren't addressing it clearly. That's my statement. I can't get back and forth. You guys have a legal argument, I'm sure, for everything, and I'm sure Bob Galvin does on how this gets approved.
Yeah.
So I don't even want to do that. I mean, you're going to maybe say that I'm talking too long, so I'm ready to move on.
I don't think that I think that when you have something critical to say, I'm all ears. I just want to hear what you have to say and make it relevant to why we're here tonight. I don't want to be hearing about this and that.
My simple question was, again, do you people, have you gotten an opinion? Is this confined disposal facility not allowed within 500 feet and is it intermediate? But let me move on, because it'll come back around a little to intermediate facility. I just want to say, as far as that kind of plays into altering the use on abandonment and the state law, and what, altering the use, that applies to the 10.12, because they've got it written in the application, altering the use of the dredge spoils is under 10.12. I want to just make the statement that the application itself, and I think Brian had mentioned that we've got another parking lot in there. Well, that pops out to me a little bit. Number one, we don't have a full municipal parking lot use in the bylaw. We have a commercial parking lot use, and the commercial parking lot use happens to be a principal use. If dredge spoils is a principal use, then you got multiple uses right on one specific site. But putting if you have a non-conforming shed in your yard, you can't do another one necessarily over here. So 2 parking lots doesn't play into things for me. Mr. Galvin mentioned that our bylaw was permissive. I do not agree at all. It is basically the same as the state law, which is not permissive. It says a change of use must follow the bylaw.
Pam, do you have a legal background?
No, but I'm a resident who can read.
I know you can read. I know you can read a lot of it.
Bob Galvin asked me that years ago if I had a legal background.
Are you also
No.
located in the near where you're at? Or are you in the?
I'm not
Are
in the
you in
butter,
Greer
no.
Brook?
But
No, you just have a
but I am
personal
trying,
interest in this
I am
property.
trying to help.
Concerned citizen.
You're a
Listen,
concerned
I
citizen.
do.
I get it. I
You
get
know
it. I'm
why
just asking.
You know
'cause
why
I'm
I think we
curious.
all should have a concern for this property? Even if we just drive through there, even if Mr. Galvin even told me once he grabs a donut and a drink or whatever, this property, because you're in the coastal wetland zone and you can't really do what you're doing, like for instance, the site plan doesn't have any structures. There's not even any guardrails. So like if someone drove off the edge of the parking lot, where would they end up? Because I believe you probably didn't put any structures in because you're in the coastal wetland zone and it says no structures. That's what I'm guessing. So you're obeying the no structure law, but you're not obeying the no dumping, filling, transferring, and excavating bird park.
I don't think this particular area has been in front of this board. That.
Well, you haven't gotten to the site plan yet, but
So I think you're off.
Let me just
we're
say
having
why I'm concerned is this is a 200-foot wide by 500-foot long mess. One guy I talked to, we have signatures, I have a few more to pass in, maybe a couple other people might have had a few more tonight too. He said to me, this is a direct butter, and the thing was going to be right behind him. He's concerned about wildlife or whatever. He says, this is a mess. And he actually said, it's ugly as beep. He said, it's a mess. I said, yes, and that's because you can't do it legally. If we went through town meeting and you could zone it to look pretty, have buffer zones, do this, abide by site law plans, maybe a narrow entranceway to put dredge spoils, lines out in the back, then that would be different. But this is just a mess. So change of use, I don't agree with Bob Galvin. He said that you could change the use. You can't. It says if the use is changed, he said you could change one non-conforming use to another. Bylaw does not say that. It says if you change a use, it must comply with the current bylaw. It says just the opposite of what he said. So that, I don't like when he does that. You know, he says things like that sound like they should be true, but they're not. I think that is about all that really applies to 10.12. I just want to make the statement, I do have a letter again. I won't read it, I'll make it very quickly. You, when you opened the hearing, said that you thought 10.12 was the only change from one application to the next.
The actual reading into the
Into the hearing,
into the
okay.
hearing.
The one important change that's in it is that in finding of fact number 1 is a problem to me in both applications, the letter, Amory's and letter. The finding of fact number 1 for both.
Can you just, okay, so you're referring to 59A and entirely 59A.
59A, the finding of fact number 1.
Just a second. So I'm on,
This is kind of the end. I'm getting near the end here. I'm hopefully not talking much longer.
Doing a great job.
that was the last hearing. I'm just looking
Why
for
don't you just
their
read the finding of fact
application.
number one. Just
What?
recite what's written so we can.
Yes,
save
I'm
some
just,
time.
Want me to
yeah,
talk?
thank you. Help me out.
Do you want me to talk?
Go ahead,
Oh.
go ahead.
All right, in the letter for amendment, okay, the finding of fact is printed, and it is the finding of fact for 10.12. It says the use requested for alteration is listed in the table of use regulations as permitted or permitted by special permit in at least one district. The answer is not a correct answer. It says parking is permitted, gives a couple of uses, and then it says the use that's being requested for alteration is the dredge spoils area use, not parking. It says the regrading of the parking is an alteration of the use. It doesn't answer whether that use is in the table. So the question's not being answered correctly here, okay? And then this particular question, finding of fact, does not carry, it's in the letter, which is written by the engineer, but it does not carry over to the application. I don't know if that bothers you or not, but I think it might bother me. But it doesn't even show up on the actual application, so it's in the letter that is outside. And I have a one-page letter tonight that explains all my thoughts on this. This is going towards to 10.10, and 10.12. Number 1 in the letter is not answered correctly, and it doesn't carry over to the application. When you do get to the application, 2 times now, because there's been 2 applications, finding of fact number 1 is missing. There it is right there. You just scroll by it, right there. Number 1, there is an answer, but the actual fact is not written, okay? And the fact should read, I don't know, let's see, do I have it quickly? The fact should read that the special, the fact should read, I don't know if I can find it quickly enough.
Pam, can I interrupt you for a second, because I understand that, that Bob has left, but the other town attorney is here, but because they're all muted, he doesn't have an opportunity to, so we need to keep.
Well, I'm
They
gonna
can
be
unmute
done,
themselves.
I'm gonna be done with this if you want.
Okay,
what's
all right,
time
I'm
at
just
the end?
bringing it to
All
the
right.
attention.
All
Thank
right,
you.
the
Wait, I'm here, I can hear.
Okay, Tony, you're able, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was unmuted like 15 minutes ago, thanks.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
The finding of, I'm not even really giving legal arguments, they're more, I think, or at this point anyways, I'm not, they're more of just factual statements that I think though cause the application to be deficient in some way, or incomplete. So, finding of fact number 1 in the application has not been printed, that's 2 times now. And what it's supposed to say is, I don't have the exact quote, and I can't find it quickly enough here in my letter, but it should say something like the special permit you're seeking is in the table of uses in the district for which you're applying for, or is it does leave an out outside the table of uses, or is somewhere else. Well, in the application, the first time around we had 5 uses. None of them needed a special permit. Now we still have 5 uses. Most of those don't need a special permit, except for that statement that permitted uses with a permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's nothing in the coastal wetland zone that talks about a permit from the zoning board of appeals other than piers, boathouses, walkways, and some water features. There's nothing about dumping, expanding dredge spoils, parking, you know, or even these other things, essential services, public parks, those are permitted by right. They do not need a special permit. The last two there, community facility 4, that's a park, accessory use 14, they're also permitted by right. They're not special permit uses. The change that's in there now, and that's why I said it's not, 1012 wasn't the only change. The change that's in there right now where it says public utility, that on the last application said Maritime Center. Now it says public utility.
Oh, I was referring to the actual
I know, I understand.
record that we were reading
Right,
in.
okay, the record
So
you're
I
reading.
just-
I'm not
okay.
trying to accuse, but I'm
I know, you're
I'm just
not.
saying, there's an important, all right, there's an important change here, I think. I'm just trying to piece together the clues, because I do not think people are being forthcoming. It now says public utility. When I go down the table of uses, run my finger down, the 1010 permit, special permit uses, number 14 for community facilities says public utility, says something like wastewater, water filtration maybe.
Including, sorry, you want me to read it?
Sure, yes.
Public utility, including water filter plant, sewage treatment facility, and refuse facility.
Okay. That refuse facility stuck out at me. There's a line in the bylaw that states that filling of land, there's a definition of filling of land, and it states that, the definition for filling of land, which is kind of obvious, and it states that if you are constructing, maintaining, or operating a refuse facility, that you are not filling land. So my question is, this is a very serious thing that we should have started right from the get-go with this. The engineer made a comment that he's seeking a 1010 permit for expansion of the gravel parking. There's no, again, the whole application calls it accessory parking. First of all, it really isn't accessory parking because Harbor Park doesn't need 2 acres of accessory parking. I don't think that's required. But anyways, so that's a problem right there. But on top of it, accessory parking doesn't need a special permit. It's permitted by right. So what is the 1010 special permit for? I'm guessing it's possible it's for a refuse facility, a public utility use. And that you are now putting a use of if you approve a 1010 special permit, we don't know what it's for. And this has happened before in this town, and I won't go into the details. I wrote on Facebook today a couple of examples.
Can I just address the 10.10, because I noticed Bob Galvin is in the back of the room, and I had a conversation with him earlier about where the other application had 10.10, and now we have 10.10 and 10.12, and his recommendation that 10.10 would not be relevant. Is that correct? Would you just explain that again?
Yeah, it's a 10.12. The application has been amended to include alterations or extension of a non-conforming use.
It still says 10.10 on it.
On the
applicant
advertising.
amended their application. There was a public hearing published, and my understanding is they're asking for relief under section 10.12.
It doesn't say that in the public hearing notice, and it doesn't say that here. That's why I was hoping that the application said 10.12, so you could at least narrow it down to what permit somebody's getting, but now there's 2 permits. And it's in the public hearing notice. And the engineer just
I
said.
saw an application that was refiled that said 10.12.
Can I just say the reason 10.10 is included is because 10.10 is the method that of how to apply for a special permit, so that's why it's mentioned. And then in 10.12 is the permit for extension of non-conforming or alteration of non-conforming use or structure. So that's why the 10.10 is included, because that's the procedure for applying for a special permit.
And like 1011 is for a variance.
Correct, 1011 is for a variance, so that's the reason for including both of those.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't, the question isn't here, there is an answer, you know? It seems to me you very well could be granting a 10.10 permit. And if you grant a 10.10 permit, that is substantial on this property. this property being considered non-conforming, if it's expanded or altered, it's still non-conforming. You grant a 10.10 permit and you're suddenly like legitimizing some use on this property, and again, it has happened before. I watched these members here and Mr. Galvin grant a 10.10 marina permit for the Harbor Master Building when it was never spoken of. It wasn't in the hearing notice, it wasn't in the
So
application.
we're not here to talk about that. but
I'm just
you're
saying.
using it as a
I-
reference point.
Yes.
Is there anything else, Pam? Mrs. Keith?
No, I think I do have, if you don't want me to get up, I won't get out of my seat now. I do have a letter, and maybe if you're not granting a 10.10, this letter is all about that, so it might not be all
So
that.
perhaps we'll
pertinent.
get to that. So
I
is
also
there
have-
anything that you can scan and get it
Well, I
to
was gonna
Nancy?
give her
That's
paper
fine
copies.
too. Just
I
date
have-
it at the top and present it to Nancy
Yeah, these
as
are, they're all
today's.
dated, and that's,
Thank you.
some more signatures. I don't know
Um,
if anybody else had signatures.
It's currently 8:24, 23. We still have to, so I wanted, before everybody else begins speaking, we're trying to find additional information, not repetitive information, so something else that has not been brought up. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bob Tyson. I represent the Fishermen's Association. I'm going to give you a short history lesson here.
I don't really want a short history lesson. I want what's for this project.
Harbor Park, I was at town meeting when Harbor Park came up, the article, for the money to refurbish it. It was meant for people to bring their kids for picnics. One woman said her father's in a wheelchair and she needs a place to bring them. That little parking spot is appropriate for Harbor Park for what it was meant for. What's happening now is the selectmen are giving these huge venues all this permission to have 3,000 people down there. That's not what the park was for at town meeting. You have to go back to town meeting and see what the park was for. That little parking lot is appropriate for what it was meant for.
So
Now
can
they're
I-
turning it into Disneyland.
Okay, I understand. So what is the what is your argument as?
It's not even.
Again, you're saying it's not. So last time you were in front of us, you said it wasn't needed.
It's not needed.
What is the information to back that up, other than what you just said, to help this
Because
board?
I'm down there all the time. The town pier parking.
Are you a resident?
I'm a resident.
Okay, are all the members within your community are they all members in this vicinity as well? So if, with the addresses that are available as well? Okay, all right, okay.
The Harbor Park wasn't meant for a venue like that. The selectmen are doing a disservice.
So we haven't even, at this point, it's just about a parking lot. It's not about so we can condition things not to occur there. And
Condition no parking.
Well, that's what those 100 parking spaces
so
are for.
we have been at this now for quite some time, so we still have a few okay.
Joe Pasevich, I'm afraid to give my address because my house has been broken into at least twice. And the contents have been
I
rearranged.
appreciate the banter.
Usually right around time of town meeting.
Joe,
So,
let's get right to
People
it.
know who I am.
I know who you are, let's get right to
There are a few things
it.
that have occurred so far that have been mentioned. I heard one thing about this little parking area, with all due respect to Bob. I understand the story about that little parking lot, but if that parking lot across the street from Harbor Park is illegal, and I want the building inspector to know that now, so that there's no 10-year grandfathering rules that apply to it. If it's illegal, and it should be closed immediately. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about, we were on soils before we went off on a bunch of other things. I've got several years doing site characterization and sampling. We just got the results from the 2 dredge projects. I just saw that like 3 days ago.
Which dredge
The
project?
ones that have been presented here tonight, the 2002, 2009. I don't know where those samples came from. I don't know what the frequency of sampling was. I don't know what the volume of soil was. I don't know how they chose the parameters or the testing methods. So to me, those things mean nothing.
Can I ask you
Nothing.
before, so are you just a citizen with, as Pam said, I like to read. Do you have a background in evaluating
Yes, I have
that?
a background in
Can you explain what that
geology and
is?
environmental science.
Okay, I appreciate
And I have
that.
several years site characterization,
Okay.
groundwater, soil
You're
sampling.
qualified to make that judgment.
Much, yeah,
Thank you very much.
more than qualified.
Okay, I
And I'm
appreciate
very
that.
conversant in the MCP.
Okay.
So, one thing that came up at the, so those results that I've seen so far mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. It doesn't tell me where that soil went. It doesn't tell me what other sampling might have been done. It doesn't tell me where the samples are collected, et cetera. Also, if this area has been in use for many years to dump material, as the lady from Brant Rock mentioned already, from their experience, we don't know how many layers there are of material in there. And we don't know what layer we're gonna end up at for the so-called proposed parking lot. And one of the members of the board here, that gentleman in behind you, said, hey, how did you come up with the area for the parking? Show us some information about how much material you're gonna move and where it's gonna go. What are those volumes? What are those calculations? And I'm saying now, what are you proposing to end up at? What elevation are you gonna propose to end up? Are you gonna end up at an elevation that's within the floodplain? Are you gonna end up at an elevation that contains a stratum of materials that was dredged in 1966 that contains X, Y, and Z? That's where you need to go to characterize. Those soil results that you've got so far are worthless and bogus. And I would hope that the DPW, since they're trying to put together a RFP, will understand that they need to know where and what soils are gonna end up being exposed. And not only will you be checking for the various priority pollutant parameters, you also gotta consider what's gonna happen with the composition of that material, which has probably got a lot of fines in it, which are gonna blow around quite a bit. And fine particulate contaminant pollution going into those neighborhoods is just as much of a concern as any of these other exotic, unpronounceable compounds. So there's been no real information about that is so far legitimate. And then just to touch on something else, since everybody else is touching on other things, that letter from Amory dated August 26th, that second item down here, talks about decreasing congestion, increased visibility, and all this other stuff. Town council and anybody else who's been in a courtroom will know that the judge will say to you, speculation. That's speculative. So to put it in here and to actually consider it and give it any kind of weight is a gross misjustice. All right? Just as you saying that we don't have the right to complain about the aesthetics and the impacts to our neighborhood and our quality of life. We don't have a right to complain about that, right? But you're the arbiter of what's quality of life. Somebody from Texas or some other place can call up and say, I think it's wonderful and it's great for this and it's great for that. And you're gonna give them weight, but you're not gonna give weight to the people's concerns over the quality of life
I
and
think
the
you're getting
appearance of their
ahead of
neighborhoods.
yourself. I think you're getting ahead of yourself. Okay.
So again, gross speculation, absolute gross speculation, totally bogus,
What else,
unusable
Joe?
lab
Joe?
results. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cusick.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to address the town pier. As Mr. DeMayo had said, it's full and it has large trailers and he needs additional parking with this site plan. So I talked to Greg Emon about accessory parking, and the distance, you look bored, the distance from the town pier to that parking is over 300 feet.
Okay.
If it's over 300 feet, it goes into another regulation of 500 feet, which will require islands, trees, benches, bicycle racks, which are structures, and you can't put those in that area. That's something that can't go. You can't put a structure in there. Mr. DeMayo knows that. You can't do that.
Can I interrupt you? So if you had a conversation with Greg Guimond,
Correct.
town planner, twice,
Yep.
and did he provide?
He provided on his computer twice.
He showed you information on his computer. Do we have anything from Greg in reference?
I think there was something from
There
Greg
was, but
early. Like,
it was early.
not, I don't think there's anything since.
For the last time we
Yeah.
were here, which.
Nothing reflected that.
Kind of comments, maybe.
I'm
Well,
sorry
are
to
you
interrupt you,
sure-
but go ahead. I'm
So
just,
you're saying Greg Imon didn't provide me?
no,
the-
no, no, I'm just asking for additional support to what
He
you're
did,
saying.
I asked him twice.
Okay,
The distance is over 300 feet.
okay,
Twice.
okay.
And now you drop into another regulation, which you can't meet, because you can't put structures in the dredge spoils area, it's not allowed. Can't do that. That's why, when Mr. DeMayo talked about security lighting, he brought it back to the lighting poles, because you can't put poles in there either, the lighting poles that are on Drybeck Way. And that's why you can't have lighting and security cameras in there. So, it's over 300 feet, the regulations don't allow structures, so that's something you need to weigh. I also would like to address that little lot, that little parking lot, was told by me that it was grandfathered after 10 years. And
Who told, I'm sorry to interrupt you
tell me
again. Grandfather,
it did, at the town pier,
Anything,
after 10
any
years.
non-conforming use or structure in existence for more than 10 years without any notice of violation or enforcement is, then, yeah, not, it's
Grandfather. But
legacy.
that, let me interrupt you. That's structures. That's not a use. It's structures. Has nothing to do with a use.
Can I
If
ask
you
a
read
question?
it,
Just
structures.
interrupt. So I understand, so I can put this in the proper framework in
ahead.
my mind.
Go ahead.
Are these concerns of the Board of Public Works, or are these your personal?
These are concerns for you.
No, I'm asking you as a presenter of testimony, or.
Well, you're asking me if I'm from the Board of Public Works?
I'm asking you, how are you, is this from you, or is this from the board? So I understand.
I'm a resident here of Marshfield.
This is as a private citizen, you're addressing.
Of course it is.
All right, just want to make sure I understand.
Why would it be from anybody else?
I'm hearing reference to various.
And as a board member.
I
Just a
understand
second.
that.
I
just
did
wanna
say I was a
understand-
board member when I
just
talked
wanna
on the
understand.
previous argument on the
Just want to
toxicity.
understand, sir. I'm good. I have my
Okay,
answer.
you all right?
Thank you.
You're good, man. Okay, you're good?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, you were responding on what your Board of Public Works was going to do, and so the board may have inferred that.
No.
Because you were speaking about your project as far as testing, that
Correct.
you were speaking.
I wasn't speaking
so
to
it-
the two board members. You gotta understand this. I was talking to the superintendent. I wasn't talking to the two board members
Okay,
at all.
so we just need to you can understand okay.
So those things that you need to discuss.
Okay. Anything else as far as the distance?
Well,
That's
no,
it.
it's a 500. You can't put
Okay.
structures in
How,
there.
what's the distance between it and the park?
According to Greg Demon, it's like 320 feet, 325 feet. And then when you go over 300, you gotta jump into the 500.
So the
From the
Harbor
park or the
is
parking
over
lot?
300 feet away?
This is Mr. DeMayo talking about the town pier parking lot. He doesn't have enough room for the trailers, so he wants to plow down 2 acres, the size of 2 football fields, for
But you're
the
talking
five-
about an accessory to the
Town
pier
pier.
as opposed to the park, right?
It's
I
not,
think
nothing.
Mr. DeMayo is talking about is the Harbor Park.
The trailers are still in the application.
We're talking about the town pier parking that Mr. DeMayo wants and to use the dredge spoils as a parking area. That's what I'm trying to convey to you.
The trailers are in number 2.
Is that clear? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Because that's all in the application and,
I'm clear with it.
good. How about you?
Clear as dredge spoils, how's that?
That's a lot
Can I
to say.
say
Thank you,
something?
though, for the
No, I'm
time.
sorry, Pam. There are other people. Ma'am.
I would like to say something. Yeah, my name is Fran Monaghan. I live at 108 Town Way. And I came here not as an expert of anything. I came here because I've been living in this town for almost 30 years. And I don't know a lot about a lot. But when I'm sitting here tonight, it feels to me like the board, who should be also representing the town, is very slightly hostile to those of us who are trying to express our concern.
I don't
Just
think
let me
that's true at
finish.
all. No, I won't let you
Finish.
finish. If you're accusing the board of being hostile to the public, I think that's that's not correct. And I'd like the opportunity as chair to correct that misconception, and it is not correct. So you have not given us the benefit of the doubt. So do you have anything specific related to this particular project?
I am.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, then
I
go ahead.
I go down to that harbor every week. My husband and I ride our bikes down there multiple times a day. We've lived here for 30 years. We are concerned about what's being done to that area. And I'm listening to these people who have letters and notes and information. And every time somebody says something, there seems to be a rebuttal. And it doesn't seem to be like the board is actually trying to be in the middle. It feels like the board is trying to protect the applicant. And it just feels that way, and I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that way, but you come across as being, okay, you're here for the town, but you're
So,
not here for the town.
excuse me, can I just say something? So the whole point of the board is we have to take all sides. So we have to stay within the guidelines, we have to stay with what we need. We understand, we've heard before some of the stuff. So that's why we're like, can we just stick with what we have right now, and we will get to the other stuff. We understand it's a difficult situation for everybody. We understand that everybody's concerned. We have to try to stay neutral. We're not on anybody's side, but just to do the right thing for the town and to follow the bylaws the best that we can. That is it. There is nothing on either side. We just have to take the information in, try to stay neutral, and try to keep it within the guidelines that we're working in right now, so it doesn't go on for 6 hours. That's all that we're trying to do. That is it.
Can I just ask, why is there a specific time limit to our concerns?
Because we could be here for 6 hours.
So
Why is that a problem?
And because everybody has the opportunity, and it has been posted, and everybody has the opportunity to send in an email or write in whatever they would like to, and we do our best, along with town council and the building commissioner, to address those issues. So that's what we try to do, is to go down the list and address them the best that we can. So we have to limit things. That's just the way that it is. Yes.
My name is Marlene Lavoisier. I live at 75 Central Street. You need to understand, these are our homes. This is the atmosphere we're going to be breathing. And when this gentleman starts talking about particulates in the air, I'm a cancer survivor. I'll stay here for 20 hours. This is important to this audience.
Ma'am, all right.
Yes, what? I'm sorry, I'm emotional.
I understand
okay?
you're emotional.
These are
but you're
emotional
getting-
issues.
I understand that you are getting emotional. This is not the forum to be emotional. All of us are.
What is the form then? Where do we go with our
We are
concerns?
trying to keep the legitimacy of what is going on this evening and keep it at bay so we can do the best job that we can with the information. So we understand that there have been certain individuals tonight. Joe Pasovich, for one, has brought up some specific information and seems to be very knowledgeable in that particular area. What he has some weight. We have other individuals here this evening that are going to, perhaps, if the board allows them, have their information brought in front of this board. So, at another date. I understand, but everybody here seems to be emotional about this project, and we understand that, so you don't need to keep.
The first time I spoke, ma'am. I don't need to keep doing anything.
No, excuse me. You did speak at the last hearing, and I heard the same thing. You just added.
Oh, excuse me, I never mentioned that before.
You just referenced.
I never mentioned it.
I understand. I understand.
I don't think you do.
Ma'am.
I really don't.
Okay, I'd like to go to someone else.
I have one sentence.
Sure.
Me?
Yes.
I just want to, now that it's been explained, and I'm still not sure that I agree with this 1010 being, just a mechanism to get through to 1012, I just want to make the statement that the expanding the parking is, the application clearly makes a distinction between altering the dredge spoils and then expanding the parking. Over and over again, the sentence is basically in two pieces. And expanding the parking, which like we've already said here, people have called it unlawful or illegal or whatever. The applicant seems to recognize, and I think town council and everybody else up here to recognize through this application, that it is not a lawful, non-conforming use. You cannot expand this parking that just came about by opportunity. There's not a lawful, non-conforming use through a 1012 permit, which has already been stated in the stuff, I think that got passed it again. And you
Okay.
therefore can't expand it through a 1010 permit either. So there's
right.
no way to make parking.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I think that we have, I think that we need, just a second. Board
I believe I'm the
members.
closest abutter to this property. I think I should have an opportunity to speak.
Okay, just a minute, sir. Board members, if we allow the last two folks here, and then I'm considering continuing this hearing, is that an
I'd like to
appropriate?
dive deeper into what the DPW is gonna do about it.
So then that's productive
call me the
as
guy?
well. So,
Said I'd like to dive deeper into what the DPW is looking to do
I'm
about
hard of
it.
hearing.
so you're suggesting that we would
Well, I'd like to talk
continue
to, I'd like to hear from Bob
outside.
as to like these RFPs that are being,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff being thrown around this evening.
but I'd love to hear from the closest
And
abutter.
then if we have questions specific.
I think that's successful. That's a plan of action. So, sir, would you like to be heard, and then we'll go finally to Eric Murphy at the back of the room, all right, Eric?
Thank you.
Sir, would you identify yourself for the record?
My name is Marty Lyden. I live on 89 Chevy Street. That's actually the property that if you go over the bridge, it's right on the left-hand side. The property actually goes across the creek, about 10 feet beyond across the creek, up to the side of the...
Andrew, can you help us
It's a bypass
to
right
understand where his property is?
Directly.
So I just wanted to refer to the Form 2C. There's a couple of items in here that I'm a little confused about. Number 2, it mentions that with the renovation of the Harbor Park and the construction of the Harbor Walk, the demand for parking in the area has increased. And you mentioned before that there's no needs analysis that we've done. I don't know if the Harbor Master has done any as well. Just, because when we're talking about the fact we need to expand more parking, but I'm out there and I look at that parking lot all the time, and it's half full. I mean, maybe a couple times during the year, during the 4th of July, those couple of busy weeks, that it does get busy. Beyond that, I never see it. And I just wanted to, let's see, item number 9, it also refers to, this would reduce parking along area streets, which is likely more objectionable to the neighborhood, meaning that if they put the parking lot in. But we had the Harbor Fest, they did a great job shuttling people in. I didn't see any issues there. I mean, I saw the whole event went on all during the day, and it seemed to be well attended, very well attended. And there were no issues that I'm aware of. Now, someone else may know, I don't know. Now, the last piece here is where it says, with the renovation of Harbor Park and construction of the Harbor Walk, the demand for the parking in the area has increased. So, there's those are, a couple things that are going on. I don't see that, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Eric, identify yourself for the record.
Eric Murphy, Ocean Street. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Just a couple things. We've already gone over most of the stuff. First off, I'd like to say happy birthday. I think it's Andrew's birthday today. Maybe we should wish him, sing him happy birthday. We all bring kumbaya. Can I approach him out here for a minute?
Please.
So basically what we've discussed is, Andrew, if you can pull that up again. We've discussed a few things. I'm calling it the 3 S's: soil, safety, and slippery slope. All right, so the soil you've already talked about, okay? The reason why we want the soil tested is because I and people who have been here a long time, remember seeing the big black tank that pumped this whole area into a swamp until it dried, and then did it again and repeated it. And if anybody's cleaned out their car with a vacuum, it's sand, 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 quarter, French fry, okay? What's in the sand, sand, sand? I got sucked up that they didn't see in the pipe. We'd like to have that tested.
Is it a dewater, is that what you're referring to, a dewatering process?
No, they had a big black pipe that they ran out into the harbor. They pumped the muck and the sludge off the bottom of the harbor. And the reason why they built this retaining wall around here is to pump 4 feet of that muck sludge water into there, and then they let it dry by the sun. into it, had all cracky mud, stinky, smelly, it was like a fish farm.
In the 70s.
And then they did it again. And they capped it and the grass grew over it. So that's the soil, you've already heard all that, that's what we're discussing. We're not discussing the 2000, 2009, we're discussing the 80s when this stuff was put down and no one knows what was sucked up. I was told specifically it was dumped there because they couldn't dump it out in the ocean. So the second one is safety. All this parking lot is made for is for bigger and longer vehicles. Anybody that lives in the neighborhood knows that the trailers come in this way from Joe Drebeck Way, they put the boat in, and they park in the harbor down here. They come back to pick up the boat, they come out and they leave down through Island Street and right down through Grant Rock Center with these big boats. Now we're talking about bringing in bigger boats and a bigger lot to accommodate bigger boats, that now this bigger trailer is not gonna come down Island Street, come down Joe Drebeck Way to the dock, turn around, pick up the, park over here, come back out to pick up their boat, and then turn around and leave this way. They are gonna go back and leave through highly congested, traffic, people, the safety is unimaginable. The people that walk on these streets with no sidewalks, and now we're talking about bringing in bigger trailers. These trailers go by 2, 3, 4 times every day. Slow, they get stuck, they slow down. So we like safety, it doesn't need to be needed. And then the second thing is, Andrew, if you could pull up the actual drawing of where they have the plan. If you do allow this to go through, then you're kind of opening up a slippery slope, because you're changing, we all agree this is called the spoils area, correct? It's not the fancy area, it's not the sand area, it's spoiled area, it's like the dump area. So if you open this up and you allow for changes to a parking lot, who's to say in 10 years we don't come back and say, hey, let's connect this street here. Nice little short little street. Oh, wow, magic, now look at it.
Yep.
Okay, you're doubling the traffic. You've already said that this is allowable. Why wouldn't this be allowable?
So we can condition some things, but I'm not even at that point. Okay, so board.
I'm just asking. I'm just writing. I'm just making notes here.
So, do you folks want to address the concerns that you have, and then we'll.
Yeah, I'd like to understand more about what the DPW's plans are for testing.
We'll get back to you.
Okay, that's
Well, what do you want to know?
not
It's
a
red
really good
tape.
timeline.
It's red tape. I'm talking to the superintendent.
So what's
He's
happened
talking
so
to
far?
He's talking to conservation. Conservation is talking to the superintendent. We're looking to test it, but you have government. Government is slow, really slow.
Bob, how does the process work if DPW was to allocate money for testing for this?
The Department of Public Works has a budget that they can test this if they want to be tested. I didn't know they were testing it, and I don't. I mean, normally, the Board of Public Works would write a letter to your board asking for some time to do the testing. That would be the normal process. This is the first I had heard that the Board of Public Works was doing testing tonight. So, and I don't know if they're coordinating that with Mr. Brennan, who designed this project, but that would seem to be appropriate.
We're coordinating it with Mr. Grafton.
Was it mentioned in a meeting? Was it brought up in a public
Voted on everything. We want to do a traffic study too. How's that?
The Board of Public Works is doing a traffic study?
Correct. We voted on that, yeah.
Correct. To be, for what purpose?
Too
many boats blowing through Grant Rock. Quality of
How
life.
about folks, let's
Quality
have
of
Mr.
life.
Cusick respond to Bob Galvin, please.
Is the Board of Public Works expressed an opinion in favor or opposed to this project?
Not yet.
No.
Mike originally came before our board and said, that's all I need is your permission. When he didn't get it, he claimed he owned the land.
So I guess it would be helpful for us here, being non-biased, just trying to get information, is to get some time frame for these things. If there's a traffic study going to be done and you want us to consider it, we have to know when. If there's going to be testing that's going to be done and you want us to consider it, we have to know when.
What's the rush for the appeal?
Well, there's an application in front of us.
We have business in
But
front
is
of
it
us.
life-threatening?
Okay, we're not, no,
There's
set
an
a
application
time.
in front of us. There's nothing else in front of us right now.
Understand.
So
Except,
what we're asking for is some help to know when we're gonna get this information, if you want us to consider it. If it's gonna be someday, maybe, who knows?
I didn't say that.
Then, no, just hear me out, please. All right?
Can't do a traffic study.
Give us some time frames so that we know, is it logical for us to wait? Is it illogical for us to wait? To say it's gonna happen is great. Tell us when.
It's unfortunate, that I don't know if you ever work with government, what have you, state, federal,
I'm
whatever.
doing it right now.
Everything takes time.
Okay?
It doesn't happen like the private sector overnight. You just go out and get it. It takes time. It's unfortunate, that's just the way it is. When people want to kick the superintendent in the butt, try to make it go forward, then so be it.
I'm sorry, Keith. So you've sat here for quite some time listening, and are there any specific comments that you would like to make or recommendations to the board at this time as an applicant?
No.
No? Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Identify yourself for the
Maria
record.
McHugh, 89 Cherry Street. Yeah, I have a question regarding necessity. There is no necessity. And if there is, when has this been decided by the harbor master? Or what is a necessity where it's only 1 month of the year, maybe a couple days? There's really no overflow for the need for all this commotion. And nobody in the neighborhood wants it, so there shouldn't be a need to even pursue it. So what's wrong with us people having a word out there saying, no, absolutely not? You know, because who knows what it's gonna dig up and all that stuff.
Okay,
I
thank
walk
you.
down there, my sneakers are probably in that dredge spoil.
Stick with your question and ask who came up
I have a
with the
comment on the
I
need.
know, well, that's what
I have a comment on the need.
no, the
We asked Mr.
needs.
DeMayo for the
Yeah.
need. At the Board
I
of
know,
Public
Mike, I'm
Works.
sorry, but
The need is to provide additional parking for a total of 94 spaces.
right now it's
We asked him to document that.
It's absolutely
It is
empty.
their right to come to this board and present it as they have presented it. And it's your right to defute that and make your voices heard, and you have done so.
Can we ask?
I get it, identify yourself for the record.
Sorry, Mary Murphy, 252 Ocean Street.
Yes, Mary.
Can we ask Mr. DeMayo now the reason? I mean, because we do know that there's only a few days of the year. Like, in 95 seems really excessive. Why is it? Are we expecting additional traffic? Is there other promotions that are, like, I guess, what is the why? What is the why?
Do you care to answer that question?
I believe I submitted a picture today of one of the busier times on the pier. I think if you share that.
Okay,
And
perhaps.
and like I said,
we
it's
can-
not every day that the pier is busy. There is pier congestion. I get it's not every single day, but there are times during July 4th, other events, that it does get congested. And it does back things up.
That's not true.
All right, I think that,
That's not true.
we are at a point, no, just a second. Board members, we've been at this for some time. Brian, Heidi, Mr. Feeney, would you like to take the information we have at hand, give the public another opportunity to present information at the next hearing? Is it advisable to close? Where do we stand?
I'd like to leave it open because I think we have a lot of information that we have to receive.
I would agree that this hearing should be left open.
I agree.
Heidi? Anything specific that this side of the room feels, you three feel?
I mean, I think if
What?
there's something from the, oh, sorry.
No, I'd just like to see the answers to a lot of these questions out there.
So I'm sure that Nancy's, I can see, shake your hands out, Nancy, they've been going.
The most important answer is that
I'm sorry,
99.9 don't
Steve,
want it.
Steve.
Vote on it, can't.
Steve.
Sorry, man.
He's not sorry.
He's not sorry.
No, but I'm being courteous to you, so that's why I said it.
I like the smile, the side grin. So, we're okay on this side, we'll.
Yeah, and I would say anyone that feels that their question got missed, hopefully we could get it in writing so we can get an answer.
Yeah, and I'd like to hear if the Board of Public Works is actually working on something. I'd like to get a
Send a
letter
letter
from
of commitment
that
to
and
do
some
that.
sort of commitment. Anything you,
Yeah, we'll do that. That's not a problem.
Just would
where,
like to have.
where,
But I think we need to put some time restrictions on it, because if the DPW is
Oh,
not
no,
gonna
it'll
do it,
happen.
maybe
I'm on
the
top of it.
owners would like.
yeah, maybe the owners want to pool their resources and answer that.
All on board, you know. They just-
So Nancy, what is the next hearing?
October 12th.
And, let me see.
October 12th.
Well, certainly, that's too early, you know.
No way they're gonna get this done by then.
Where, we have a couple board members in my area suggesting the 26th.
Okay.
30 days.
Would 30 days be enough time, you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. 30 days would work, yeah.
So
For
I'd
what?
like
For
to
a
make a,
status
mo-
or for actual test results?
Status.
so it's up to the public to have the information available to the board. If they don't have the information available to the board, we'll make a decision at that point. It would be preferable to have it at the Friday prior to October 26th, which is typically when our cutoff
Town
date is,
meeting?
and we make
Town
some.
meeting.
Town meeting is.
The 18th.
Yeah, 18th. But, so John, couldn't we have you guys send us over a memo, stating that you're doing the traffic study and
Yeah.
soil evaluation, just so like Bob said, so now we're aware of it, so we can take it into consideration.
Absolutely.
I know you guys already voted on it.
We've already voted it, so
I
I
know.
don't know why he doesn't know it.
No, but I mean, it would be nice if you send that over, so then it's in the record.
They've said in-
First request, you got it.
So, all of us, board members, I would like to make a motion to continue this hearing to October 26th at a time of 6:30, date certain, with the expectation that the public will have some sort of a response to the issues that we brought up this evening. And the Board of Public Works can chime in, and what else?
Mary might have her
Mary
information.
may have her
Information from the
information,
DEP.
DEP, and hopefully that information can be brought to the board the Friday prior to our hearing, okay?
Thank you, John.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor of moving this case to October 26th?
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Bellows, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Okay, so that is taken care of. I appreciate the applicant sitting here, and I appreciate the public's opinions, and we will revisit this on the 26th. Thank you.
So Lynn, we have to,
That's the red pen.
on the Hey, Lynn? Lynn, on the McNiff, we have to move that. We didn't- I vote no, so you can't. Second. Aye.
We're taking a 5-minute. Does someone have the agenda? I'm late.
But we have to do, McNiff, we have to reopen the meeting.
So, folks, this is the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals. We took a short recess to stretch our legs, and we,
Lynn, I'm sorry.
Yes.
There is somebody on here who is refusing to not be muted, and they're not participating correctly.
Had my,
Linda,
this is gonna be a fun 5-minute break.
Linda, please mute yourself. Linda,
I feel like I'm playing with.
the harbor master is now continued to another date certain, to
You have to
the
reopen the meeting.
26th.
And I say something,
No, so
and they
I,
don't answer, and then they,
so I am going to ignore the member of the public on Zoom at this time and reopen this hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. Today is September 28th, 2021. It is currently 9:06, and we are bringing this meeting back to order. All board members are currently present.
it's a very simple question.
So there is,
Should I remove her?
Yeah.
please remove her. All right, where are we?
2162.
Remember,
We have to do
This
McNiff,
one
we have
here.
to,
Okay, so we are on new hearings, 2172. Do we have, okay, so the petitioner requests to withdraw without prejudice. This is for 17 Seminole Avenue, but I will read it into the record. Case 2172, Kevin McNiff, the petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to extend the existing deck by 9 feet 4 inches and construct a 25-foot 7-inch by 12.1-foot addition over the deck by enclosing it with a roof and construct a 31-foot by 15-foot dormer on the front of the second floor on the property located at 17 Seminole Avenue, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being a parcel M090308 and is located in an R3 zoning district. The petitioner requests this case to be withdrawn without prejudice, and I would like to oblige. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of allowing case 2172 to be withdrawn without prejudice, identify yourselves.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Chris Belzo's, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Brian Murphy.
Brian Murphy, aye.
All right, so that is taken care of. Where's the rest of the agenda?
That's it.
No, we have the
Is it?
one on the backup,
What's the other
backup
one?
moved. The-
I think we're all set.
That's
That's the 12th.
It's at the bottom of the
Is he done now?
Any other appointments?
Go back.
Oh, sorry.
On page. See, it says continue. It just, it's.
There are 2 continued hearings on the 12th.
Yeah.
We're done.
So
Nothing
that's
else we have to
it?
do tonight.
Can I,
That's it?
can I just, can we discuss one quick issue that
I
I'm
would be
having?
happy to discuss any issue that the board feels that.
Can we
it
sing
needs
happy
to-
birthday?
Happy birthday to you.
Let's stop that right now.
I wouldn't have followed through.
Earlier this year, we had I had somebody apply for, they wanted to do a remodel to an accessory or an existing accessory apartment in their house. And it was 1121 South River Street. They came before the board because I was telling them they needed a variance because their lot didn't conform. And then they said, "Oh, we don't need a variance. It's pre-existing, non-conforming." The assessor's card has it as 2 units, and they started calling it a 2-family. And then we said you denied the variance as moot, but then in the decision specifically labeled it as a 2-family home. And now they're applying for a building permit for an addition, and they're gonna change it from, which was a single-family dwelling with a barn, and part of that barn had an apartment, and now they're gonna do an addition and make it a duplex.
Have duplexes.
Because we called it a 2-family structure in our ZBA decision.
But that's how
Did I
Bob
do that?
defined it.
So we need,
That's how Bob
we need
defined
to
it.
bring
I
it
don't
up.
know what-
So I think at this point, bring it in front of Bob for legal advice on it.
Is he here?
And-
Still or did he leave?
I don't have the decision on that, so
He's here.
let's,
He's still here, so. one of the-
I don't know if it was something that we even, or is it done and done because it's,
No,
it wasn't
I don't-
appealed or,
I'm gonna
anything?
I'm gonna just.
Gonna
see if
squeak
I'm
out
here.
there.
It just,
Um,
it puts me in a weird spot because the
I'm not
assessor's
leaving the
like,
room.
Do you want me to get it?
it's a single family home.
Do you want me to get it?
I was gonna just see if he's
Yeah, just yell out to him. Yeah, so yell out to
The
him.
assessor doesn't matter though.
speaking.
Right.
It's the building jacket that matters.
20?
We've learned that a couple of different ways. But we may have a legal 2-family.
Now you have to go up to the zoning tab.
That was the decision, I remember
If
that.
there is an
That's what it
error in
was.
the, if there's an error in the
No,
decision.
just, that's all plans.
We have to do it.
Keep going up, past.
I just did, but, well, he told, Bob's the one
actual
that told us
full
that they brought the evidence in and showed it to us.
Weather beaten one, yeah.
Was that from the,
I know what
so
our
Mark, you're saying
intention
the
was.
building jacket is what you
It'll
go
weigh
by,
out.
not the?
Yeah. That's what the case law says.
In town hall?
No, no.
Bob
yeah.
referred to it as
I know that.
it's 2
I went
units.
to
so
BSE work, because that was Brenda before me.
We don't get to decide what
Was it
units
this
are
year?
units.
Was
It's
it last
2
year?
units.
I think it was this.
What, say that again?
And you could just sort them by the
Told
the
us it's
top.
2 units. That's what he wrote.
By name,
he
I'll go
wrote the
give
decision.
them,
He told
But
us.
now the structure's pre-existing
We'll go
non-conforming.
by alpha.
That's what it is.
So anything you wanna do, we'd have to go in front of the
Yeah,
board.
they showed evidence back to where
So
it was pre-existed the zoning.
So basically, anything internally you wanted to change around, he could. If you wanted to expand it. that
No,
would
it
be up to
doesn't, it's 2 units, that's what it is, that's
Yeah,
why he
but
didn't
it's-
have to apply for,
Yes, we're
the
still
variance
in
was
it.
moot because it's 2
I'm
units.
very happy.
No, I
There is
get
no
that, but where
variance.
it's two, where he's at, he can configure the single structure he wants into 2 units. He can configure it any way he wants.
Right, it's
But
2 units.
adding an addition would be, that would be a totally another decision.
There's a lot of homes in this town that have 2 units
Yeah.
on their property, you know?
So I think that for right now, I think we're gonna have to table that.
Yeah, I just
Well,
wanted
Bob's
to
right
bring
out
it
there.
up,
Let's get
because
it.
it's,
You can-
even if it's,
Want me
you
to
know,
take a
Bob
short
says
recess?
it's okay, you know, and, you know, now that we've called it a two-family, they can kind of make an addition, and make it a
We can
duplex.
clarify a decision.
What's that?
I believe we can clarify a decision. If you can't, you don't think so?
I mean,
I
it,
think we have to make a decision more closely.
Yeah,
We're all talking without having it in front of us.
yeah.
So let him know, Andrew.
we spoke briefly about this. This is the 1121 South River Street where they've given me plans now to do an addition and make it a duplex. And it was a single-family house with a barn that had the
Yeah.
apartment.
This is Dickinson.
I don't know who
Yes.
it is, but
I just remember that name
Yeah.
because
Okay,
I remember
yeah.
us talking about it.
yeah. So I
My
mean,
understanding was the board denied it as moot because it found that there was 2 existing
Units is.
units there.
right.
Someone had personal, did you have personal
Brian, yeah.
knowledge?
Yeah.
I knew it was there, but also, they had a letter.
From Paul Williams, or
Yeah, that's
they had a
right,
letter.
Paul
My
Williams.
God, I remember
Yeah.
that now,
Right.
okay.
The older
So is it possible?
But it was
that-
always, so the way that the assessor's card, which is what they used in the meeting to define it, the assessor's card says it's a single-family home with 2 units, meaning the primary unit and an accessory dwelling unit. And then it got interpreted to be a 2-family in the decision.
Yeah.
Meaning
And
that
now
the
they're
main house is a
now they're taking
two-family.
advantage of that decision, and they're proposing building plans that's gonna make it into a duplex home with 2 separate entrances,
I thought it's 2
2
structures.
garages.
Isn't there 2 structures?
Connected.
One
No, there's like a
structure
barn
connected.
connected to the,
It's an attached barn.
And there was an apartment in the barn,
Yeah.
Okay.
But Bob, wasn't
Did
it,
that make it a two-family?
It was my view that
Yeah, there was 2
had been
units.
there, there were 2 separate dwelling units on that property.
correct. That's what you told us, and that's what
That made all sense in the
legally
world.
decided, yeah.
Weren't they asking for an accessory apartment and we denied it because there was proof that there'd been a long
Already
standing
been-
second
Yeah, 2
dwelling
units.
on it?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
continued because someone had said that there was, or maybe because you
I
had
remember
knowledge
the
of
letter
it.
They
from,
brought in a letter.
Paul
I mean,
Williams.
Paul Williams had a letter to us stating that
That will be,
this had existed.
that will be under town hall.
Yeah, it was.
What's the issue?
And they brought the deed in that showed it going back also.
So what's the issue?
Andrew.
Well, the issue, so we specifically find and confirm that the subject property is a lawfully pre-existing, non-conforming 2-family dwelling.
Well, if it's attached, it's gotta be a 2-family dwelling, right? It's attached,
Not
right?
necessarily. I mean, we have accessory dwelling units within.
Yeah, but this is
This isn't
attached. Is it attached or is
It
it?
is.
It is.
It is.
So it's 2 families in a single dwelling.
Unit, yeah. Well, 2 units and 1
Remember the
unit.
actual
And one
rare, but-
Single family, but it's not though. I mean, we do it all the time with accessory
Right,
apartments.
I'm like, aren't
but
they?
that's
This
not-
isn't an accessory
With an
apartment.
accessory dwelling
We
unit.
called it a 2-family here. Oh, she's back.
Because it wasn't an accessory apartment, it was deemed to be there prior to zoning.
So it's a
Correct.
2-family.
That's
That's
what
I'm
we
saying.
called
It's-
it, and that's what
It's rare in our
it is.
town, but it's,
Well,
it's,
the
The only
thing
other
was,
one I
it
can
was
think of
never
is on Marine
classified
Street.
as
There's
a
a-
One on
two-family
Marine
until
Street,
this
there's plenty
decision.
of them.
and that's what.
And that
that's
took a
what's
long
called.
time to
Okay,
determine
I
if
just
it
wanna
was
make sure.
two-family,
Beach
right?
area, there's 2 families.
So
They
you
have
wanna
2
make sure that
addresses.
that's accurate for them
I
to
want to make
move
sure that's
forward.
accurate before I issue a building permit
Right.
for.
Okay.
I mean, I think we
Of a
deemed it a
duplex.
2-family.
Okay.
And Bob, you agree that's how that should be?
I remember this
Yeah.
discussion, and I remember there being adequate evidence that there was a second dwelling unit on the property, and if it was connected as a 2-family. I think that's right.
Recall it being
With separate
connected.
egresses.
The barn was connected, right, Andrew?
I don't
Yeah.
remember that, but yeah, okay.
Can you bring the picture up?
So then,
Sorry. I don't mean to get bossy.
Who's back? Yeah.
Now
She's
go to
under a
town.
different name.
Town hall.
Andrew, you looking at the screen?
I thought they
Hold
would
on
just
one second.
remodel it
That's
as
what I
an
thought.
assessor, so I'm kind of,
Where am I going?
Move
Here?
down,
Like anything
down
else,
two.
it isn't
You're
old, old house.
right there.
When they're gonna, they're doing a remodel, they're like,
Down to ZBA.
are we good
What-
to
are we
continue?
good?
I think you're,
Call
you-
this a night?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
21.
I'm already-
Okay.
Andrew's just
Oh,
looking
but you
for
know
a
what, it was
picture,
opened in
but I
20.
Andrew, are you
guess we
okay?
got
20.
I'm good as long as the board's good.
He's just gonna pull up the picture,
Pull up the picture of the
Okay.
property.
so it's under the 20 tab.
Ask the public if they have anything else to say.
This is not a specific hearing on this.
I'm just asking.
No, this is just a question from
No,
you.
I'm just asking.
She's asking if
Not
the
about
public
this,
needs to
but just
speak in
in general
relation to
before we
this.
close. No.
That what?
now what they wanna do is it conforming with the rest of the lot? I think it's a simple addition.
So are they attached, Andrew?
Yeah, they're
I thought you
attached.
meant-
No.
Oh, I love that house.
The apartment's to the left side, right?
McCabe's.
The apartment is this area right here.
They're attached?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the barn's attached to the
The
house.
barn is attached to the house. It goes around the backside. There's an
Isn't the house from the 1800s or something?
Yeah.
It's old.
So are they getting rid of it? What are they doing?
How are they
Oh,
gonna make
now
it a
you just-
duplex? Isn't
That's
it
not-
already, what is a duplex versus a two families?
It's just a different word.
Yeah, is that all it is?
It
Like,
can be two things, right?
we-
Aesthetically, it's probably gonna look more like a two-family
Side by
now.
side,
Yeah,
and up
you
and
see
down.
how
It's
the-
2 units.
oh, right, right,
You'd
right.
never know that now. It looks like a barn.
Yeah.
What's the property address?
1121 South River Street. But now what they're gonna do is there's gonna be a second, they're gonna remodel this and they wanna do a second garage. So there'll be a garage under here, there'll be a garage this way. You know, so they're gonna have 2 garages, 2 entrances, 2 everything. It's gonna be a legitimate duplex, not a farmhouse with a barn that had an accessory dwelling unit in it. I mean, this is what I'm looking at. You know, you gotta look.
Get
I think
it?
it's gotta remain connected, though.
What do you mean?
Can't
The
separate
new
it
structure's
into
gonna
2
remain
units.
connected to that.
Are they,
It just-
is the new structures?
They are, yeah, it's gonna
They're
be.
connected, right?
Yeah, it's all gonna be, still be connected.
Does it matter
With a detached garage.
I don't think it makes a difference.
No. They're
Why
gonna,
would
the
that be?
Garage is
garage,
under?
one garage is
No,
gonna
it's
drive
not
under,
connected.
go around to the left and drive under.
Well, it's a
The other one's
two-family
there.
dwelling, one
You can have two
dwelling
garages
with
in
2
it, too.
families.
So that will be a garage.
2
for-
units in one structure.
You can have 2 units, but they gotta be connected.
And 2 garages.
Yeah.
You can't have a two-family having 2 single-family structures.
You're only allowed to have one
that?
principal dwelling building on a lot.
Oh, it's a beautiful old house. I mean,
It can be a 2-family, but it can only be one building. They'd need other relief to divide it.
Oh, you thinking that's what they wanna do?
Yeah, they would, no, they can't do it.
Oh.
You can't divide the structure. You have to keep them connected. It's a 2-family dwelling. You can't have
Or is it-
more than one dwelling on a lot.
Is connected just being a common wall, or does it have to be accessed?
I don't know, how are you interpreting that?
Yeah,
I mean, it can't be just like a
Breezeway.
you know, yeah.
No, they have to
Be
have
formal
fire
connection.
separation walls. I mean, it's pretty specific for a 2-family versus a single
Can't be a
family.
breezeway.
Or an
I think
apartment
there was
within a
one
single
case where we
family.
allowed a-
It's-
I still have a question
Oh, my
left
goodness.
over from
you she was
before the
there.
break.
That was that elderly gentleman.
Someone's
So
looking to
this, the
speak to you.
hearing is
Yeah.
closed.
I just removed her again because she just clearly is not understanding that she has to wait her turn.
So are we ready to go? We
Shouldn't
done?
be asking any questions about a closed hearing.
She did ask a question at the
It wasn't
hearing.
closed.
She gave a
I
statement.
said
We
closed,
left it
but it's-
open, but-
it's
But
the
we continue.
She kept trying to come in.
continued
The
that-
applicant has left and the
Everyone's
other
left,
abutters
yeah.
have left.
Correct. I said that, I believe.
All right, are we ready to
So let's make a
close?
motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mark Styles, aye.
Larry
Aye.
Keane, aye.
Definitely, Chris Bell's house.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Heidi Conley, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Thank you, everybody.